Chapter 140, The Shocking Universe Palm. Chapter 140, The Shocking Universe Palm. A shiver went through Zhuo Fan as he looked at her. Why you, how did you know? How could I not? Chu Qingqing smiled and reproached, Dear. I'm waiting for your honest answer. Jay, just don't shout, alright? Edifice Lord Chu, it's all just a misunderstanding. I really didn't know this was what you meant at the time. Zhuo Fan was waving his hands frantically, then caught Vicious Pill King beginning his second refining and was getting nervous. We will talk about this later. After I kick this old coot out. He started to run as soon as he finished speaking. Chu Qingqing was startled and was more disappointed than bewildered. It wasn't narcissistic of her when she always thought that her character and appearance were outstanding. She saw with her own eyes how 99% of the men who looked at her had dirty thoughts. And even those exceptions would at least talk to her like normal human beings. But none went as far as to run away. Zhuo Fan ran as if a crone was out to get him. She couldn't help but feel angry. Why is this brat so different as compared to other men? Others will try to act like gentlemen on such occasions, eloquent and smooth-talk me into doing what they want. Well, I guess those men normally pluck the flowers of hundreds of women already. Meanwhile, this guy is still a virgin. Chu Qingqing blushed, admonishing herself, just what am I thinking? But she had no way of knowing what was truly on Zhuo Fan's mind. He ran because he once climbed to the demonic emperor position. He knew full well that righteousness and women were the biggest dead weights in a man's pursuit for power. He wanted to regain his demon emperor power, to rise above and beyond. And to do that, he had to cast aside such weights. Chu Qingqing didn't return to the terrace. She stood there, watching the only man who moved her heart running towards his first-place spot. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan only had a thirst for victory in his eyes. Tacking a side glance as his returned archenemy, Vicious Pill King, now that he got his anger more or less under control, smiled wickedly, Brat, why did you even return? To make pills, of course. Zhuo Fan sighed inside. Vicious Pill King is the best in the empire after all. He recovered his calm after just a few breaths. Few people were capable of such a feat. Making pills? More like you came here to bother me. You overestimate me. How could I possibly dare to mess with you? Zhuo Fan snickered. Shaking his head, Vicious Pill King was refining his ingredients with one hand while he grinned. If not to mess around, then what other point is there? With your snail-pace speed, there's no hope you can win. So, that's why you thought I came to mess around. Zhuo Fan was quite calm. Vicious Pill King eyed him with contempt. Ha ha ha, if this was your plan all along, it may not have been half bad. Stopping me from making a 5th-grade pill would get that Tao Danyang to finish first. Too bad, you were too conceited and spoke that nonsense about letting anyone who took first get your head. Wouldn't that also apply to Tao Danyang? Startled, the people's hearts grew nervous. Indeed, in this competition, only Zhuo Fan couldn't afford to lose. Once he fell from the top, his head would fall with him. Ha ha ha, I will enjoy killing you just as if I was the one who won. You think Tao Danyang can stop me? Vicious Pill King cackled, finally venting and releasing his anger. Chu Qingqing frowned in worry for Zhuo Fan with a hint of reproach in her eyes. Be as insufferable as you want but within limits. This old guy has leverage and will have your head. Yet, this is just how Qing Tian would have acted. Chu Qingqing watched on with love and hatred. Was she going to lose her loved one a second time? Tao Danyang was close to finishing when she heard this. Her hand trembled and the process stopped. Old hag, go on then. If you won't finish, someone else will. Zhuo Fan turned from her to Vicious Pill King and his eyes grew colder. Old coot, I told you. I will never leave this spot and no one can take it from me. Not you, not anyone. Zhuo Fan's hand suddenly ignited into a raging fire and gestured for tens of ingredients to fly inside. Watching the flame, it was no different from Vicious Pill King's or the other profound heaven experts' Yuan Qi flame. But after one breath, Zhuo Fan was sweating. Vicious Pill King laughed even harder. You little prick, your cultivation is not nearly enough to sustain such a strong flame. You're looking to die if you keep this up. Humph, narrow-minded old goat, yours truly will show you the difference between us. Zhuofan shouted and slapped the burning hand. With a bang, the flame burned twice as strong and consumed all of Zhuofan's yuan qi in an instant. At this moment, Zhuofan's eyes flashed and his burning hand made a fist. The fire and the ingredients were all now squeezed inside. In one blink, the towering flame had vanished into thin air. Only Zhuofan held his fist tightly. It was bright red and billowing smoke leaked from between his fingers. This whole process of putting the ingredients inside the flame and closing his fist took a few short breaths. Many didn't even catch him doing it. Scratching their heads, many looked at each other lost, not understanding what was going on. Vicious Pill King stared fixed at the fist and laughed. I was wondering what you're planning. But it's the same as before. Isn't it destroying all ingredients again? With ragged breath and ashen-faced, Zhuofan collapsed from exhaustion. But his smile turned unprecedentedly wicked. It seemed to convey endless confidence. Old coot, I may have done the same, but the result isn't. Taunting Vicious Pill King with his eyes, Zhuofan pumped his fist and then opened it. Everyone, the refining of a 5th-grade pill is now complete. Zhuofan's shout resounded throughout the hall and a golden pill gleaming brilliantly spun around in his palm. The soothing fragrance, the luster, they all confirmed that it was indeed a 5th-grade pill. In an instant, the audience devolved into chaos. Just what did Grandmaster Song do? How did he suddenly refine a pill? The top 10 alchemists, closest to Zhuofan, cried incessantly, that's impossible. They saw it most clearly. How Zhuofan turned a batch of ingredients into a pill in an instant. But this was also why they just couldn't believe it and couldn't accept it. They not only never seen such a godly refining skill, but did not even catch a rumor of it. Lu Yizhen watched Zhuofan in a daze, almost forgetting about his own task. His brain froze. He didn't understand ancient refining skills, but read records of them. Yet none of them held any reference that might allude to what this heaven-defying skill was. He made a 5th-grade pill just by closing his fist. If refining is that easy, what pride would the alchemists of today have? A pill taking 2 hours to make just took seconds in your fist. On the terrace, Long Jiu and the rest were dumbfounded. How was this alchemy? It was clearly pulling something out of thin air. This refining skill was too goddamned insane. It was no different from swindling. On the eastern terrace, Huangpu Qingyun and his men were dumbstruck as well. This brat, Huangpu Qingyun was so surprised he could barely speak. His men didn't fare any better. The only eyes not looking at the pill was Zhuofan who was holding it. Swallowing hard, Zhuofan waved the pill before the flabbergasted Vicious Pill King. Old coot, ever heard of Universe Palm? Vicious Pill King blinked hard and swirled his head. He looked at Zhuofan like looking at a freak. He stammered for a long time but all that came out was a garbled mess. The shocking Universe Palm was unlike any ancient secret skill he used before. This was a heaven-defying ability. The alchemists seemed to have been in a dream. A refining skill that defined the heavenly laws actually existed in the world. Snorting, Zhuofan said, did you see, old coot? This is our difference. The difference between heaven-toppling pill and Vicious Pill King is as big as heaven and earth. Vicious Pill King watched him dazed, and couldn't get any word out in rebuke. Zhuofan sneered with a shake of his head and showed the pill to Xiaoya. Forgive me, my cultivation isn't enough and could only refine a high 5th-grade pill. A perfect one shouldn't influence my spot, right? The alchemists' faces twitched, feeling like crying. Making a 5th-grade pill in a blink is heaven-defying enough, so why in God's name do you have to make it a high one too? Are you trying to steal our bread? Xiaoya felt dizzy. Zhuofan had to call her out a few times before he got a reaction. She rushed to receive the pill and assess it in detail. Grandmaster Song's high 5th-grade pill is successful. He keeps the first place and enters the final round to compete for the position of Pill King. At her words, Zhuo Fan turned around and spread his arms. He looked at the audience, his cloak billowing, a manner exceedingly arrogant, and shouted, "As long as I stand in this spot, no one can take it." Grandmaster Song. The crowd's passion was ignited and pumped their fist as they called out his name. The Pill King finals had yet to start, but he had already become a Pill King in their eyes. Chapter 141, Yours Truly Wants to Kick You Out. Chapter 141, Yours Truly Wants to Kick You Out. Hearing the rumbling and fanatic cheers shaking even the heavens, Xie Tianyang looked envious. This punk does the same wherever he goes. If the world was in chaos, he'd be an overlord by now. Ha ha ha, even peace can't stop this kid's rise. Long Jiao caressed his beard, his eye trembling with admiration. I knew long ago he isn't someone to mess with, but it still leaves me in awe whenever I see him. I can't help but wonder, what's his limit? The others heard him and turned to Zhuo Fan being the star of the show, acting just like a king. They had to nod at Long Jiao's assessment. Xiao Dandan listened to them praise Zhuo Fan and pride got to her head, her heart sweetened like honey. I found the best husband. He is leagues above the other men. Her thoughts were echoed by Chu Qingcheng as well. Seeing Zhuo Fan worshipped by the crowd, the cheers he evoked, unknowingly changed her slim body's position, striking a dignified and imposing look, as well as love-struck eyes. Every woman, even Chu Qingcheng, hoped to find a shoulder to lean on. However, this was Drifting Flower's edifice, a place where women governed. Furthermore, the people of Tianyu whose shoulders she could lean on could be counted on one hand. Not to mention, some had evil thoughts and were unworthy of trust. Not too long ago, she rested her weary body and hoped on the strong-armed Huangpu Qingyun. Only to find out the latter chose his house over her. In spite of it all, Zhuo Fan came through in the end. She took him as a mere child and used him to comfort her heart. But she slowly came to realize that this man was the only one worthy of her trust. The praises, the veneration, and the kowtowing of the crowd was still ongoing, shaking the sky and jarring even the ears of the alchemists, meddling with their refining. Xiao Ye was in the arena gesticulating all over the place and demanding silence. Don't shout. Please remain. But no one heard her. Her sharp voice was drowned in the flood of praises. The only thing she could do was stomp in distress. Grinning, Zhuo Fan raised a hand to catch everyone's attention. The uproar from before was gone in an instant, like it never existed. The crowd seemed to have faded from the silence, with only the flames of the alchemists in the arena making small burning noises. Everyone, other alchemists are still refining. Please keep quiet, for me. Zhuo Fan calmly flung his hair. There were nods all around and even some zipping their mouths. Xiao Ye was exasperated. Whose goddamn competition is this? Grandmaster Song is too damn liked. Xie Tianyang's face twitched, damn it. This punk is showing off, again. In the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun's mood sank ever lower. The bigger Zhuo Fan's popularity was, the harder it was for him to act. And this was something he did not want to see. As Zhuo Fan gained his current fame through alchemy, this was also the only way to crush it. And the only one up to the task was Vicious Pill King. But Vicious Pill King's confidence had begun to falter at this point. Looking at him, one could see Vicious Pill King ignoring everything around him and focused on refining his pill with all haste. The situation had gone out of his expectations. Instead of losing, Zhuo Fan kept his first spot in the third round. While Vicious Pill King was now on his second round of refining, putting him in last place. The only thing that worked as intended was his speed. Still very much capable of overtaking the others. Zhuo Fan knew this as well and his grin turned into a sly smirk. A shiver struck Vicious Pill King out of the blue, but his mind was on refining. Suddenly, a flame flickered and Tao Danyang put out her flame, leaving behind a spinning and shining pill in her hand. Tao Danyang refined a high 5th grade pill. She enters the Pill King round. Xiao Ye's crisp voice resounded. Zhuo Fan raised his eyebrow and directed his belligerent eyes along with his flout at Vicious Pill King. Oh, even the hag finished. Elder Yen, didn't you say something about taking first place? How come you didn't even make it second place? Vicious Pill King's heart boiled with anger, despite his quiet state. He knew Zhuofan's aim, to mess up his concentration and ruin the refining. Replying would fall into Zhuofan's trap. So he chose to bear it in silence. No matter what insults Zhuofan threw at him, he would ignore them. This time, Zhuofan had a lot of time on his hand. Time, which the Vicious Pill King needed. He was rushing as fast as possible, or the chance of elimination would be high. At that point, the problem wasn't getting the Bodhi root but saving his reputation. Zhuofan knew Vicious Pill King's mental state and wasn't worried. When you want to hit a person where it hurts, you need to do it at the precise time. It can't be too early or too late, and when you decide to go in for the attack, make sure he is sent to hell. Else, there will be heavy retaliation. As such, Zhuofan's nagging was only setting up the playing field. He was simmering the opponent and would only truly act when the perfect chance availed itself. High 5th grade pill, refined. A familiar voice suddenly came and Yen Fu showed the pill in his hand with pride. Zhuofan's eyelid twitched and laughed, Elder Yen, you taught one amazing disciple. He surpassed you. But now another spot in the finals slips from your grasp. Vicious Pill King didn't reply but his raging glare pierced his prized pupil. The proud and cheerful Yen Fu felt a frosty pair of eyes watching him. When he discovered they were from his master, he started shivering and lowered his head, sweating bullets. He had now realized his blunder. In this competition, how could a disciple dare finish refining before his master? Wasn't this taking his master's limelight, openly defying him? He regretted it until his innards turned green. But what was done was done. Vicious Pill King also didn't waste time arguing with his moronic disciple, rushing to finish his own pill. Oh ho, that's Vicious Pill King for you. He can still hold it in. Zhuofan scratched his nose and smiled faintly at Yen's song, ha ha ha, I must say, I do admire Elder Yen's staunch character able to bear even your disciple's disgrace. Too bad you fell for it regardless. Vicious Pill King only snorted, knowing it all to be a ploy to mess with his head. He would fall for the trap if he truly replied. Uncaring if he heard or not, Zhuofan kept on talking, did you know? I failed the first time I used the universe palm. Vicious Pill King's ears peeled without wanting to. He knew it was all a trap, but not even Vicious Pill King could block his ears when it came to a heaven-defying alchemy skill. With a vicious grin, Zhuofan resumed, I failed because the flame was too weak. I was perfectly aware of this even before I started. I didn't think of succeeding, just trying it out. In brief, I failed on purpose. Squinting, Vicious Pill King's heart skipped alongside his flame. He hastily calmed himself and resumed refining, but his hearing was now sharper. I only assumed the posture of losing for your benefit, while also earning the other's sympathy. All of it was to lower your guard, or my sneeze would have been stopped by you. With his jerking, Vicious Pill King's flame also trembled. He finally turned his head, so you acted right where the pill was at a crucial point, when I was most relaxed because of imminent success. Punk, such a vicious ploy is no less than you geekies. Ha ha ha, don't, please. You're flattering me, Elder Yen. Zhuofan said, a plan is something that makes use of all available elements around oneself. Elder Yen said that these people can't save me no matter how stirred they are. And you are indeed correct. They may not be able to save me, but they can help me deceive an old geezer. If you weren't taken by my wretched display, I fear you wouldn't have lowered your vigilance around me so quickly. Vicious Pill King clenched his empty fist. He hated himself for being toyed with by a brat at his age. Ha ha ha, don't be so hard on yourself. Picking up on his thoughts, Zhuofan laughed, since you've always been focused on alchemy, you're not that erudite in schemes. Losing is only natural. If it were you geeky, he wouldn't have been duped. Humph, no matter what, I have suffered greatly this time. But don't get too excited. There won't be a second time. Vicious Pill King spat through clenched teeth. Arching an eyebrow, Zhuofan laughed hysterically, "Oh, forgive me, Elder Yen. This may be a tad insolent, but I must inform you that you've been had again." Startled, Vicious Pill King didn't understand. It was now that Luizhen and two others shouted. In these few breaths of time, 3 more people entered the final round. "You may be quick in refining, your heart may be calm despite my words and didn't fail in your control, but I got to slow you down." A demonic smile was plastered on Zhuofan's face. "Correct, yours truly same isn't to mess your concentration, but to drag out your refining and kick you out." Frightened, Vicious Pill King saw more and more alchemists around him were about to finish and was anxious by the second. For the first time, he was afraid. This punk is a plague. From the 3rd round, no, since the beginning, he set up such a vicious trap for me to spring it. What's even more frightening, is that he got me twice. Seeing the half-refined ingredients in his hand, Vicious Pill King's mood grew gloomier. He walked this earth for so many years, but this was his first meeting with a deceitful opponent like Zhuofan. Chapter 142, Pill-Breaking Wind. Chapter 142, Pill-Breaking Wind. Since there was no way to block him, kicking him out was option B. This was Zhuofan's plan, cooked up from the moment he heard of the 3rd round's condition. As this round was based on speed, cutting the old coot's speed would make it harder for him to enter the finals. With an evil smile, Zhuofan watched Vicious Pill King. The latter had been duped already, so why would he keep paying the brat any more attention? He was going as quickly as he could to finish the refining. And indeed, the best alchemist in the empire wasn't one to disappoint, speeding through the process like a bullet. In but a few breaths, he was done with refining the ingredients. Next was forming the pill. Raising an eyebrow, Zhuofan wasn't the least bit worried. There were some things that even though one knew they were wrong, they still couldn't stop themselves from doing them. Because they were still holding an interest in those things, and Vicious Pill King was no exception. "Ahehem," Zhuofan coughed lightly, "Elder Yen, I noticed your pill's ingredients and decided to run by you the 9th Heaven Roaring Dragon Claw's secret I used in the 2nd round." His ears perked without his knowledge, despite knowing it was one of Zhuofan's ploys, despite being certain that this secret was bogus. No matter how bad it looked and felt, the temptation was too great. He wanted to know more about such a magical refining skill, especially since he was an alchemist. He was only a breath from forming the pill's shape, but now the process was halted. His speed was now under Zhuofan's complete control. Laughing inside, Zhuofan still kept a serious face. "Oh, going by its name, it has a dragon and claw in it. So your hand must also take the shape of a dragon claw." What a load of obvious bull. Vicious Pill King was clear as crystal of Zhuofan's scheme and didn't want to listen, but he only got his ears to blame for betraying him. Yet, hearing the mention of a secret, he stopped to listen more closely. But what reached his ears was nothing more than some superficial talk from Zhuofan. He felt like crying. So wretched that he wanted to cut his ears off. With no choice, he turned to Xiaoya and blabbed like a little kid to his teacher, "Judge, this brat is disrupting my refining." "What, Grandmaster Song is hindering you?" "How?" Xiaoya looked skeptical. With a red face, Vicious Pill King gnashed his teeth. "The brat keeps gallivanting in my ear and distracts me." Silence followed throughout the arena, then shortly followed by rambunctious laughter. An alchemist's most important feature was his state of mind. What kind of alchemist are you to mess up your refining from a few words? How did you become the best alchemist in the empire anyway? Everyone looked out with mocking smiles. This never ever happened before. How could they have known Zhuofan's words struck a nerve? He didn't want to listen, but his ears were a whole nother matter. Everyone would feel the same if they were in his stead. The more he heard the maniacal laughter, the redder Vicious Pill King got. His face was thoroughly caked in mud. Xiaoya's eyelid twitched and cursed, "Elder Yen, you're not a child. Why are you complaining to me about such a simple matter? Yeah, we're just chatting and getting to know each other. Why did you have to go out and tattletale?" Zhuofan liked to make a mountain out of a molehill and jested. This launched the crowd into another round of laughter. Getting his anger under control after a few breaths, Vicious Pill King shouted at Xiaoya, "Wench, aren't you a judge? Do you even care? Why aren't you kicking this brat out?" "Fine, fine, fine, I do care, alright." Xiaoya shook her head helplessly and giggled an apology to Zhuofan. "Grandmaster Song, I appreciate it if you would not speak with Elder Yen as he refines. Why not come into the guest's corner for a drink?" Raising an eyebrow, Zhuofan said, "Fine, I'll listen and won't talk." True to his words, Zhuofan's lips were sealed. Then, the next second, Vicious Pill King found the world around him got quiet and turned to see the other competitors. Most of them reached the step to complete their pill while he was only at the molding phase. He sped up at once and gathered all the refined mixture into one place and took the final form of a pill. 5th grade pill, completed. Another shout, another finalist. In total, there were 7 who qualified for the Pill King round. Vicious Pill King wiped the cold sweat from his brow and rushed urgently to finish the pill. Although worry had not left him in regards to a certain punk, fearful he might be up to something. For the remainder of the process, he divided his attention to Zhuofan's every move. Who, at this point, was on his best behavior, as if he abandoned any thoughts of thwarting Yen Song's progress. "This punk is faking again. The last time, you got me out of carelessness, but this time, I will be on guard." The more this punk is at ease, the more certain it is he is waiting for me to show the slightest slip-up. Squinting, Vicious Pill King laughed coldly inside, while his heartstrings were also stretched taut. "You won't get me a second time. Judge, I finished." Another shout marked the taking of the 8th spot of the finals. Vicious Pill King took a deep breath and worked hard to keep his calm while steadying the flame in his hand. Such a crucial time needed him to calm and tranquil. Seeing the pill in his hand had taken shape, Vicious Pill King gnashed his teeth and gave his 120%. This was a key moment and failing was not an option. The silent and unmoving Zhuofan looked askance at his cautious nature in making the pill. Soon, he reached the final step. All that was left was to spur the flame and condense the pill. Though he started to recall Zhuofan's sneeze and was overly cautious of his interference, he could not be defeated a second time with the same trick. Vicious Pill King suddenly shouted inside, and the flame towered. At this exact moment, the nightmarish sound came again. Achoo! Vicious Pill King's heart seized and flicked his sleeve to protect the flame while also turning his back to Zhuofan. But this scare shook his focus and the flame was trembling. Luckily, he was a veteran alchemist and stabilized his state of mind in a blink, preventing his pill from being ruined again. Sighing relieved, Vicious Pill King wiped his sweat and turned to see Zhuofan. Only to find the person in question sneezing in another direction and rubbing his nose like nothing happened. Noticing the old geezer's look, Zhuofan eyed him back and cursed, "The hell you're looking at? Yours truly didn't disturb you." Stammering, Vicious Pill King was enraged, but no word came out. "You don't need to talk to annoy me. Your presence is enough harassment as it is." Vicious Pill King suddenly felt dead tired. Not of the body, but in the mind. He had been on this earth for many years but never was he as exhausted as he was now. Who could go through the refining process with one's nerves stretched tighter than a violin? He had to admit to one thing though. Never in his life had there been anyone acting the same Zhuofan did. Noticing his master's embarrassment, Yen Fu was taken aback. Never was there a time when his ruthless master was pushed back again and again. Turning to the first spot, he saw Zhuofan with a cryptic smile, and his heart chilled for some unknown reason. Tao Danyang saw Yen Song sullen and couldn't help be chipper. Chu Qingcheng saw him getting toyed by Zhuofan and her eyes shined with affection. The people on the terrace already laughed their hearts out. Yen Song had been a literal plague over the 7 houses but now, he was put in his place by a newbie. One couldn't help but relish the moment. One thing was clear though. The brat wasn't ordinary. If any took his place, they would have long failed miserably. In the end, only Demon Zhuofan had ever beaten Vicious Pill King. They sighed. Yen Song was wicked beyond words, and only someone more wicked than him, a demon like Zhuo Fan, could settle this vicious pill king. Huangpu Qingyun and his men in the eastern stand watched the scared vicious pill king with trepidation. If this old bag of bones loses, the Bodhi root will leave my grasp. Taking deep breaths, vicious pill king watched the almost finished pill and worked hard to calm his mind. He knew what everyone was thinking, which made this bout was just as important for him as it was to Zhuo Fan. If Zhuo Fan lost, his head would roll. If vicious pill king lost, not only his name would be dragged through the mud, the regent estate would bestow him its endless wrath. Vicious pill king's eyes squinted and boosted the flame in his hand. The roaming pill inside the flame also lit up in a strange light. Vicious pill king's eyes flashed and his mouth perked up at a corner in hope. Almost there, just a bit more and I'm done with this exhausting refining. This goddamn round is so exhausting. Bam! A large sound came out of the blue. Vicious pill king jerked and his towering flame shuddered and exploded. Vicious pill king didn't even notice his scorched beard and eyebrows, as the almost done pill was now junk. Vicious pill king went stiff and stared into space. He turned around to see where the sound came from. Zhuo Fan scratched his head, embarrassed, with a dashing smile. He, do forgive me. I just couldn't hold it and farted. Was it too loud? SSS. Vicious pill kings couldn't stop trembling. He watched the beaming Zhuo Fan with his black beard whipping in the wind, but was unable to make one word from the sheer anger he felt. Chapter 143, Damaged Vitality. Chapter 143, Damaged Vitality. Ha ha ha, damn. I admire this brat. Up on the terrace, Xie Tianyang slapped the table as he roared in laughter. No matter where you go in the Tianyu Empire, all you hear about Vicious Pill King is how powerful and influential he is. But when he is here, he's actually reduced to such a wretched state. Look at him, he is on the verge of crying, so angry he can't even speak. He's so miserable, I even pity him. This brat is inhuman. How can he be like this to his elders? Ha ha ha, Xie Tianyang cursed Zhuo Fan while also laughing. Long Jiao and Jian Suifeng's gazes met and smiled. But when they looked back at Zhuo Fan, their eyes were filled with admiration. Long Jia and Long Kuei felt more and more complicated instead. They were of the same age and even came from one of the best houses in Tianyu, but they only got to be supporting roles for the elders of their house. While Zhuo Fan, a servant from a third-rate clan, was fighting head-to-head with the empire's most famous, and even came at an advantage at that. Why was the gap so large when they were of the same generation? Peony Overseer and Iris Overseer watched the thin figure in complete control over the whole situation in such awe, they couldn't even speak. The two tasted Vicious Pill King's cruelty and treachery on their own skin. Yet, they knew. Not even the entire Drifting Flowers edifice was enough to defeat him. However, today, the old geezer was like a puppet played by this mysterious youth to exhaustion. His wretched figure, unable to even cry, was something the two women never even believed was possible. Was this the same cruel and sinister Vicious Pill King? Swallowing dryly, the overseers watched each other, but it was Iris Overseer, in the end, who walked to Long Jiao. Uncle Jiao, stop being so cryptic and tell us, who is this fake Song Yu already? Whose clan's young master is he? Or is he an inner disciple from a sect? Caressing his beard, Long Jiao shook his head, his eyes at a loss. Clan? Ha ha ha, his clan is nothing more than a firefly. As for sects, I never heard of any being mentioned. In short, this brat is one huge enigma. Not even Uncle Jiao knows. Peony Overseer was startled as she rushed over. Then why do you have so much faith in him? Faith? Humph, as if. Xie Tianyang snorted, out of everyone I trust, he is absolutely not among them. None of you know his true nature. One second he is buddy-buddy with you, and in the next, he casts you aside, changing tunes faster than you can turn a page. If you put your faith in him, you won't even know how or why you died. This made Xie Tianyang recall something and his eyes were filled with dread. You cannot imagine a crueler and more sinister man in this world. I recall that condescending grin when he sold out Ninger and it gives me chills even now. Their hearts shuddering, the overseers noticed Xia Tianyang being truthful. But if this man was such a monster, why were Long Jiao and the rest respecting him so? Xiao Dandan was irked by Xia Tianyang's description of Zhuo Fan and barked, "You keep saying my husband is your friend, but why do curse him behind his back and even call him a traitor?" "Me, curse? Ha ha ha, that's the truth of it. And he won't deny it either." Xia Tianyang laughed, "But if there's one thing I admire about him, it's his hypocrisy." "Then why are you all still friends with him?" Peony Overseer asked puzzled. They all started laughing, how could we not? Iris Overseer was thoroughly confused. None of them clearly trusted him and even said he was worse than a human, but why were they so reliant on him? Like a true friend, leaving him in charge of everything. Wasn't this a contradiction? Seemingly seeing her doubt, Xia Tianyang smiled, "Iris Overseer, trust and entrusting are different things. He is not a friend worthy of trust, but he is a brother to entrust in. And that is because of his strength." Xia Tianyang pointed at the wretched vicious Pill King, "Tell me, if it weren't for our untrustworthy friend, how would you have dealt with that old geezer?" Shuddering, the overseers now understood what he meant. It wasn't that this mysterious youth was worthy of trust to place Drifting Flowers Edifice's fate in his hand. It was that there was no one else up for the job. Lounging in his stone chair, Xia Tianyang's look softened when he gazed at Zhuo Fan. "Do you know why you have such faith in an unworthy friend? Because he is the only one worthy of it. Without him, I would have lost the one I love. I believe I cannot repay this favor for as long as I live. This is why I spoke without hesitation at the feast and put Sword Marquis's abode in the face of danger for Drifting Flowers Edifice's sake." This shocked the two overseers greatly. It now came to light that Sword Marquis's abode and Veiled Dragon Pavilion did not help them because of Drifting Flowers Edifice, but because the brat asked them to. They started to laugh dejectedly. One of the 7 noble houses, Drifting Flowers Edifice, with a history of over a millennium, had lost in terms of reputation to a random kid. If grandmother knew this, she would be flipping out right about now. Achoo! On the first spot, Zhuo Fan sneezed for no rhyme or reason. But for real this time. Rubbing his nose, Zhuo Fan cursed inside, "Who the hell is talking behind my back?" He looked at Vicious Pill King staring blankly. "It's gotta be this old coot cursing me in his mind. Don't you worry now, I will have your life soon enough." Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed with killing intent. But this time, the old guy was innocent. Ever since his loss in the second round, out of anxiety, except for feeling anger, he didn't dare to even curse Zhuo Fan in his mind. All who entered the third round were famous grandmasters of alchemy. He may not be up to Vicious Pill King's level, but he had refining skills to make up for it. After one failure, Yen Song could still catch up. But now, he fell behind too much and there was no hope for a comeback. He now started to truly panic, but the more restless his heart was, the less he could think of a way out. Zhuo Fan laughed coldly inside, having foreseen this. In fact, the 2 failures happened all according to Zhuo Fan's plan, right when they were about to finish being refined. This also worked to make him waste the most of his time. Even if he didn't intervene in his third refining, the Vicious Pill King still wouldn't make it. Plainly speaking, Vicious Pill King lost the third round, but more importantly, he was played around like a fiddle by Zhuo Fan. Tao Danyang's eyes flashed in glee. She never would have thought Zhuo Fan capable of having Vicious Pill King kicked out of the competition. Now, regardless of who of the 2 won, Bodhi Root would stay with Drifting Flowers Edifice. Chu Qingqing found Zhuo Fan more and more to her liking. To take Xiao Dandan's earlier words, this husband was far stronger than the last. Got it. Vicious Pill King facepalmed out of the blue. He took out 8 silver needles in haste and stuck them in his head. Silver needle acupoint? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow and smiled. The old guy wanted to seal his hearing and avoid any disturbance. Why didn't you do it sooner then? Yours truly needn't interfere since you're through anyway. But Vicious Pill King flashed a flame on his hand and threw ingredients in. Fifth grade pill, complete. And another shout came, marking the 9th finalist. The rest were also working hard. The slowest needed around 3 minutes, while the fastest ones are around half a minute. Humph, this old coot is done for. Juefan laughed coldly while the other alchemists were getting excited. This was their chance, perhaps the only one in their lives, to beat Vicious Pill King. Suddenly, a blood arrow was spat into the flame and the fire towered 10 meters high, many times stronger than before. In a blink, all the ingredients were refined. Juefan squinted. This old coot is dead serious on entering the finals to use even his blood essence. Too bad, not even this could make a pill in time. Then another blood arrow was spat and Vicious Pill King rushed to make signs despite the blood around his mouth. In a blink, the blood turned into the shape of a pill and the concoction resulted from refined ingredients rushed inside. A shout later, Vicious Pill King's flame grew bigger, and the lustrous blood pill came out while emitting dense energy. Vicious Pill King grabbed the pill and shouted, "Fifth grade pill, complete. Fifth grade pill, complete." At almost the same time, another shout echoed. Xiaoya eyed the two and came to Vicious Pill King, who finished first and nodded after inspecting the pill. Elder Yan's low 5th grade pill is complete. He enters the finals. He was pulling the last silver needle when he heard her. Vicious Pill King sighed and swayed. But this did not wipe the relief on his face. From his wan face, Juefan knew he damaged his vitality. He may have qualified, but now he could refine no more. Chapter 144, Beyond Bold. Chapter 144, Beyond Bold. Since the 10 finalists have been decided, the rest will be eliminated. Not even looking at the pill of the alchemist who finished in close after Vicious Pill King, Xiaoya shouted. This caused an uproar, one born from puzzlement, as one protested, weren't there supposed to be 20? Why only 10? Snapping a cold gaze at the speaker, Xiaoya flatly explained, I never said there will be 20. It just so happened there were 20 top cauldrons prepared. Her words sent them pondering, making them realize their false preconceived notion. At the start of the meeting, the judge never once mentioned how many would enter the finals and just started the competition. But, as there were 20 top spots standing out from the rest, they simply took it for granted. Realizing their own mistakes, the alchemists sighed in regret, especially the second batch of 10. They falsely assumed there was plenty of time and didn't give their all, wasting their chances. None of them considered that this was set on purpose by the Drifting Flowers edifice. An alchemist who did not strive to reach the top was unworthy to qualify. Unless, of course, he was like Juefan, with plenty of skills in their arsenal. After all, it was a universal practice to bend the rules and morals in any profession and let the strong ones in. Wait! The alchemist who finished after Vicious Pill King shouted his dissent. He was intimidated by Vicious Pill King but soon calmed in his heart as he declared his malcontent, Judge, my pill is a top 5th grade pill while Elder Yan's was a low 5th grade pill. We also finished close together. Reason dictates that the 10th spot ought to be mine. Quiet. It was Juefan who got ahead of Xiaoya. His cold eyes stared pitilessly, are you deaf? This round was based on speed, not quality. This is what you get when you can't even understand what is required of you. What face can you expect when you bark like a dog? Forget about who was first or last. If this old guy finished at the same time as you, he'd still be the one to qualify since he shouted first. All the alchemists were startled. Vicious Pill King and Grandmaster Song are in a life and death battle. Grandmaster Song would no doubt be jumping for joy if he could kick the old goat out. Why is Grandmaster Song speaking up for his opponent? They were confused and so too the people on the terrace. Even Vicious Pill King eyed Juefan with a stare. Tao Danyang watched worriedly from the side. Why is this brat defending him when he was working so hard to kick him out before? Chu Qingcheng was also clueless, her angelic eyes fixed on his figure. Under everyone's rapt attention, Juefan snorted and took on a smug attitude in his berating, I know exactly what you're thinking. Indeed, yours truly wanted to kick this old guy out. But he used blood essence to refine pills, twice, cutting away almost half of his life to finally win his spot. And let's not mention braving through my schemes. But even so, I will still win the Pill King round. In the meantime, I will not have this old coot fail from meaningless prattle. That would be a disgrace to me as an alchemist. Silence as the grave. Then, thunderous applause dominated the air, with worshipping eyes directed at Zhuofan. Now this is the air of a true scholar. Open, frank, and of outstanding bearing. Even vicious Pill King started to feel a thread of respect for Zhuofan. He inched his withered hands and slowly clapped. Tao Danyang sighed, but felt quite prideful. This brat is sinister and cruel when is needed and frank when the circumstances demand it. This is a true man, a husband worthy of that girl. Chu Qingqing's heart exploded with love. Xiao Dandan had long been thrilled that she was trembling. It was impossible for her not to adore such a dauntless man. Xie Tianyang and the rest nodded in admiration. Zhuofan was despicable, true, and scrupulous, also true, but was not nasty. Only evil. And his evil nature was embraced by his domineering character, making him an antihero. This man is a man of ambition, similar to myself. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun breathed out in lament. The others looked at him then at each other in silence. Finally, it was Lin Zitian who spoke. Second young master, you took a liking to the kid and want to employ him? Absolutely not. He shook his hand. Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with killing intent. A mountain is too small for two tigers. With his ambition, he will not deign to serve under another. He must be dealt with swiftly. Whether I get the Bodhi root or not, he must meet his end today. Huangpu Qingyun clenched his fist, his manner of unprecedented seriousness. A premonition struck me just now. He must die here, today, or Regent Estate will have an archenemy. The hearts of his men shuddered. Regent Estate was the strongest of the houses and wouldn't show fear even when matched against the other six. Why is it that the second young master evaluates this third-rate clan kid so highly? No matter how great his talent and skills were, he hadn't the power to fight against the Regent Estate. What they didn't realize was that Regent Estate's men were most skilled in grasping the heart of the people. If Huangpu Qingyun came to such a clear-cut decision regarding the kid's fate, it spoke of the possible threat Zhuofan could grow into and endanger Regent Estate. The men turned to watch Zhuofan with deep gazes. Only Lin Zitian, however, was uncaring as he flattered, "Haha, second young master is overthinking. A third-rate clan brat, regardless if he knows some ancient refining skill or if he was even a 7th-grade alchemist, this is only limited to alchemy. He can't." Huangpu Qingyun's piercing stare snapped at him. Lin Zitian stopped with a shiver. "I will say it again. This kid must die today." Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with absolute conviction. The others had never seen him so determined. They could only nod, as each's eyes flashed with their own resolution. In the arena, the discontent alchemist cupped his hand in shame. Grandmaster Song is indeed correct. I never had the right to enter the 10th spot. Please do forgive my careless words. Having seen Grandmaster Song's imposing manner, I feel ashamed of myself. The man gave a deep bow to Zhuofan and left with a lowered head. This earned more reverence from the crowd. The man was ranked 13th in the empire in alchemy, known to nitpick on anything and everything. Yet the same man submitted willingly. Grandmaster Song is of impeccable moral standing. Zhuofan would have cracked up if he heard them. Moral was the least fitting trait when it came to him. It was more accurate to call him of ruthless standing, beating others into submission with power rather than reason. Xiaoya bowed in appreciation to Zhuofan. She had first despised him, then was shocked by him, and now had come to respect him, with something else mixed within. Zhuofan had no experience in this field to pick up these subtle signals. However, Chu Qingqing was one who always followed her heart. Thus, she noticed these signals immediately and could only shake her head. An outstanding husband is not always a good thing. Too many eyes will be on him. To all grandmasters that have entered the Pill King round, congratulations. You have a chance of getting Drifting Flowers Edifice's most precious treasure, the 9th grade spirit item, Bodhi Root. Xiaoya smiled. I asked that everyone move to their respective spots. The last 8 alchemists started to move in order. Their ability in alchemy was clear-cut as to who was strong and who was weak. Only Vicious Pill King fell from the 2nd to the 10th spot under Zhuofan's relentless harassment. Hey, old guy, give up. Tao Danyang felt quite thrilled to have finally got ahead of that old coot for once. Snickering, Vicious Pill King glared at the hag and snorted, what are you so excited about? It wasn't you who did it. Vicious Pill King looked at Zhuofan, now filled with a staunch desire to fight. He hadn't felt like this in decades. Brat, I have been unequaled in alchemy all my life. But today, ha ha ha. I have traveled the continent unchecked for decades and not once have I found one worthy of admiration. But today, ha ha ha. Laughing, Vicious Pill King slowly walked to his new spot, yet his voice was still clear. Brat, we will have a true battle today and see who shall be the best alchemist in the empire. Shock pervaded the crowd. The arrogant Vicious Pill King, who saw no one as his equal, not even Regent Estate's leader, just acknowledged someone. On the surface, he might seem like he cared about the Regent Estate. However, deep inside he still couldn't care less about them. He was the first alchemist in the empire and had arrogance to spare. However, this time, he met his match. 3 times they duped, 3 times he failed. He never suffered such a wretched defeat in his life. Yet, now, he was far from angry, but jealous instead. It was as if he was back in his prime, filled with the thirst for battle. Tao Danyang was startled, getting the feeling he was looking at the Vicious Pill King of old. She smiled and said to Zhuofan, Kid, the old coot already took you as his opponent. This is his approval of you. TCH, since when does yours truly need his approval? Zhuofan's tone was filled with coldness. Old coot, you lost close to half of your life in the last round. Keep this up in the next one and you will fall. My life is my own. Today, I will win against you. Vicious Pill King shook his hand and spoke resolutely. Raising an eyebrow, Zhuofan started re-evaluating the old coot. Vicious Pill King no longer had the cruel and sinister manner from before, but the bearing of a true grandmaster of alchemy. Chapter 145, Pill King. Chapter 145, Pill King. Master, are you all right? Be careful of your wounds. After changing his spot, Yen Fu rushed to Vicious Pill King and looked at him in worry. Vicious Pill King, however, didn't even acknowledge his presence. Bam! Vicious Pill King slapped his face out of the blue, sending him sprawling 3 meters away as he barked, Humph, you dare finish before your master? Did you not see how close I was to not entering the finals? Forgive me, master. I was wrong. I would have never considered it possible for that punk to. Yen Fu crawled sullenly to Vicious Pill King, but the latter's words got stuck in his throat. Squinting, Vicious Pill King spoke icily, what were you trying to say? That the punk played me to such a miserable state? Never. Yen Fu lowered his head, sweating bullets. Shaking his head, Vicious Pill King said, what never? Yes, I was indeed played like a fiddle. Be it in alchemy or schemes, I failed on both accounts. Is there anything wrong with saying it? Even the brat admitted he could not kick me out. His plan failed. So what could I, in my sorry state, not dare to admit? Yen Fu was shocked. He looked up in fright as he muttered, Master, why have you changed? I have not changed, only returned. Taking a deep breath, Vicious Pill King gazed afar with eager eyes. It was unclear if he was speaking to himself or his disciple. An alchemist's mind should be set only alchemy. Success and failure are commonplace. It does not warrant covering it up. Vicious Pill King looked at Yen Fu, disciple, do you know why I hit you? Because I dared to finish before master and shamed you. Before Yen Fu could finish, Vicious Pill King shook his head and laughed, ha ha ha, over that small matter? I only blame you for taking a spot and almost making me lose the chance to fight a worthy opponent. I never had such an opportunity in all my life. Laughing again, Vicious Pill King ignored his disciple and went to the 10th spot. Yen Fu was startled and turned his head to look at his master. He felt his master was unlike his usual self. His master used to emphasize results above all else. Successful refining was rewarded, while failure, punishment. Under such strict guidance, he had managed to surpass Liu Yizhen's rank and become one of the top 5 alchemists in the empire. Now, his master no longer cared about results, but to have a fair match with the kid. If the kid had dared threaten Vicious Pill King's place of being the first alchemist in the empire from the start, he would have been long dealt with. A dead man, even with neat alchemy skill, wouldn't have been able to challenge him. Strange, is it because the brat helped my master out just now? Yen Fu's heart was filled with questions. He had no way of knowing it was simply a hero respecting another hero. When formidable individuals fought, they may employ devious schemes, a dog-eat-dog battle, but a win was absolute and victory, brilliant. Zhuo Fan did not manage to kick out the Vicious Pill King and openly admit his loss. It is fine if he failed this time. After all, there was still the next round, which Zhuo Fan intended to dominate. But from the gossip flying around about Vicious Pill King, it would be impossible for Zhuo Fan. Naturally, Zhuo Fan did not take their words to heart. He knew that these people could be used, but never relied upon. After all, the sneaking and sinister way of a dowager had always been the weapons of the weak and the scorn of the strong. Vicious Pill King felt the same and now had his spirit aroused. He wanted to pit against Zhuo Fan in this round and win clean and perfectly so that Zhuo Fan would have no room to deny it. The battle between these two heavyweights was on the field of alchemy. Yet, it was also a fight to the death. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun stared at Zhuo Fan, then at Vicious Pill King. Tell me, can Elder Yen win? Of course, second young master. Lin Zitian jumped right in with a giggle. Elder Yen lost the first 3 rounds, but from the 3rd round, the brat used an ancient refining skill that is taxing on the body. His best is a 5th grade pill while Elder Yen is a true 7th grade alchemist. It would make no sense if he lost. I see. Huangpu Qingyun nodded, but then smiled. However, Elder Lin, thank you for reminding me. You said the same thing in the last round, staking your head on Elder Lin's victory, and how did it end? Lin Zitian cursed in his heart as his smile froze. When did I ever put my head for the likes of that old coot? Isn't it you who demanded it? His only choice was to keep those words to himself and shake his head with a bright smile. Laughing, Huangpu Qingyun said, anyway, I do not expect anything from the old man. The loss in his first round can be said it was because of that brat's tricks. But he failed the second round from P. Huangpu Qingyun shook his head but then cracked up when he recalled Yen Song's wretched look as if he swallowed a fly. Alright, let's take it as the kid is quite able. But the 3rd round, a sneeze and a fart threw him back to the 10th spot. Is this still because of the kid's amazing skills? Second young master, Yen Song is usually a vicious and spiteful man. But to fail when it was most crucial, makes him unworthy of bearing heavy responsibilities. The 5th elder stepped forward and started throwing stones at Yen Song. Huangpu Qingyun raised an eyebrow. Elder Lin, what do you have to say? Lin Zitian was hesitating. Second young master was clearly resentful over Yen Song's failures, but he had always stuck up for the old guy and their fates were tied. If he was a turncoat now, wouldn't the second young master never trust his words again? Lin Zitian gnashed his teeth. Since I was wrong from the start, then I'll be so till the end. I hope this will be a chance for me and that old guy. He said, second young master, please relax. Elder Yen isn't the only one at fault, because his opponent is too sinister. In this Pill King round, the requirement is definitely above the 5th grade and the kid won't win no matter how cunning he is. Elder Yen will be the one to take the first place. Huangpu Qingyun eyed him deeply. Not because he found Elder Lin's words right, but that this opportunist had a loyal side. He couldn't help but secretly nod at that. Lin Zitian noticed his admiring gaze and sighed. feeling proud. This time, I made the right call. Sigh, it's not easy sticking close to the ruling class. In the arena, Xiaoya smiled at the 10 grandmasters in their respective spots and started the finals. In this Pill King round, everyone has free reign on what they make. Instead of speed, it will be the highest grade that will crown you Pill King in this 100-pill meeting. In an instant, some were worried while others were happy. Huangpu Qingyun's side laughed. It went as Lin Ziqian said, with the final round based on an alchemist's true ability. Tao Danyang frowned. Zhuo Fan was in the bone-tempering stage and could only make a 5th-grade pill after giving his all. How was he going to defeat the 7th-grade alchemist Vicious Pill King now? Yet, by his appearances, Zhuo Fan seemed unconcerned. When Vicious Pill King looked at him, his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. After losing 3 rounds in a row, he figured out that the kid couldn't always rely on schemes. The refining of a 7th-grade pill at the bone-tempering stage may be pure fantasy, but humph, this kid might actually pull it off. Zhuo Fan felt the old man's eyes and waved. He didn't think the one to believe him the most ended up being his greatest opponent. Then, for the purpose of fairness, Drifting Flowers Edifice will provide high-grade ingredients for grandmasters who are missing ingredients. Xiaoya clapped and a lovely group of hundreds of disciples pushed cabinets in the arena. The cabinets contained ingredients from the lowest grade to the 7th, and even a few 8th-grade ingredients could be noticed. Swallowing dryly, everyone, especially the alchemists, were now greedily looking over the items. Like a pack of starved wolves meeting a fresh lamb. Like a pack of perverts meeting a naked and gorgeous lady. Damn, Drifting Flowers Edifice is filthy rich. The sheer amount of ingredients here was not something a 3rd and 2nd-rate clans could hope to obtain. Not even a 1st-rate clan could get them easily. I invite the grandmasters to choose the ingredients you are lacking for your refining. A word of caution, however, do not get greedy. You need to refine with all the chosen ingredients, otherwise, Xiaoya's smile penetrated their deepest thoughts. Coughing lightly, the people chuckled in embarrassment then began choosing. In no time at all, they all finished, having returned to their spots. However, Xiaoya looked around and found one spot empty still. Looking at the cabinets, Zhuo Fan was there choosing, looting his booty. He didn't take his time going from one ingredient to another but stuffed a whole cabinet in his ring and moved to the next. From the 1st grade to the 8th, he didn't miss one. The crowd was in total shock. Dude, can you not so openly rob the Drifting Flowers Edifice? My God. The comedy. My stomach. Ha ha ha. Chapter 146, Shameless Looting. Chapter 146, Shameless Looting. Grandmaster Song, why you? Xiaoya pursed her red lips and despite knowing what he was doing, she couldn't outright say it. Before the 3 rounds, Zhuo Fan was nothing more than a nameless silk pants, now turned #1 famous alchemist. Some token of respect had to be present when addressing him. Even as the first in the empire, you still need to be ethical. You should not openly break the rules of 100-pill meeting. Xiaoya was watching him awkwardly. She could neither stand still nor let him do what he wanted. This was a pickle. Zhuo Fan's hands paused and raised an eyebrow. Didn't you say these are for us? So which is it? Grandmaster Song, I think you misunderstood me. She explained, these are only used as complementary ingredients to the ones you have. Yeah, but I am lacking everything. Zhuo Fan resumed looting the cabinets. The crowd was speechless. You can do that? The alchemists from before were also shocked silly, thinking they should have taken some more when they had the chance. Judge. If Grandmaster Song can do it, then there's no problem if I do it too. Luizhen licked his lips, looking at Zhuo Fan and Xiaoya anxiously. If I don't hurry up, the kid will pick them all clean. He was a top alchemist, but he sorely lacked ingredients. Xiaoya glared, Grandmaster Lu, don't make trouble. You're saying you can use them all in this round? Luizhen let an awkward smile, then shook his head on his way to his spot. With how many ingredients there were, who could refine them all? he couldn't mess with Drifting Flower's edifice. Then again, getting a couple can't hurt, right? Louisian looked again at Zhuo Fan with admiration. He was plundering the cabinets like he was moving house. Just which clan or sect does he hail? There's no way a third-rate clan kid would dare perform highway robbery right under Drifting Flower's edifice's nose. Grandmaster Song, you need to make sure you use all ingredients you are taking, or there will be serious consequences. Xiaoya had gotten angry and changed her tone. Zhuo Fan's hands slowed, then smiled inside. With how many there are here, how could they be refined in one go? This amount is enough for tens of thousands of pills. Then again, so what? Once he got crowned as the Pill King, he'd take the Bodhi route and haul ass out. The Drifting Flower's edifice could then do nothing but eat his dust. So, he might as well get as many treasures as he could. They'd be breaking all ties at the end, and it would be such a waste to leave these beauties lying here. Slowly turning his head, Zhuo Fan grinned, how do you know I won't be using them all? I'll do it in a jiffy, don't you worry your pretty little head about it. He then resumed his shameless picking. Xiaoya was close to crying. She never saw a more vile grandmaster in her life. Refining tens of thousands of pills on the spot? As if this was daylight robbery. The crowd watched the darkest horse in this arena, who had displayed alchemy skills more outstanding than even Vicious Pill King, now robbing the cabinets of ingredients. To think this grandmaster has balls to rob Drifting Flower's edifice. Yet, Drifting Flower's edifice did not even try removing him from the premises. After all, who told them to give the alchemists free rein? And what if someone insisted he could refine thousands upon thousands of pills? Although far-fetched, that's beside the point. You can only settle this after the competition. Xiaoya waited bitterly for Zhuo Fan to load up his ring. When he stopped, Xiaoya was overjoyed, and smiled, Grandmaster Song, are you ready? Then please return to your spot and begin refining. Everyone is waiting for you. Frowning, Zhuo Fan turned to Xiaoya and his ring flashed, my storage ring is packed, can you bring me another? Staggering, Xiaoya was about to collapse. The audience's faces froze. Grandmaster Song, you're too shameless. No, Drifting Flower's edifice does not provide storage rings. Xiaoya roared. Glancing at her, Zhuo Fan snorted helplessly, what 7 noble houses? So stingy. Xiaoya was close to spurting blood. Thank God she choked on words and the blood stayed inside. She glared at Zhuo Fan with such hatred that she wished she could tear him limb from limb. You took advantage of us and still dares to call us stingy? Is there anyone in the world more shameless than you? Looking at the cabinets, most of them were empty, leaving only the first and second grade ingredients behind. Xiaoya was this close to bursting into tears. These ingredients took Drifting Flower's edifice a whole year to gather. Some of them were close to 100 years old before being harvested. Yet, all of them were swept clean by a damn punk. Drifting Flower's edifice aimed to show off their power by letting the participants choose their ingredients. But then, this fool came around and nabbed them all. Just you wait, brat. If you don't bake 10,000 pills I will tear you a new one. Xiaoya glared with all her power at Zhuo Fan to comfort her bleeding heart. Her slight, almost ephemeral respect she had for him before now burned in the flames of rage and hatred. This punk is a rogue. Zhuo Fan had better things to do than care about her opinion. He scratched his nose and went to his spot. What is fame when tangible stuff is more valuable, he. On the terrace, Xie Tianyang was piqued by his actions, then asked, Elder Zhou, I heard you and the brat came to become allies. All his ingredients must be coming from Veiled Dragon Pavilion. Why is it that he looks so miserably poor? He was even moved by those first-grade ingredients. Humph, when talking about greedy people, even a needle on the ground can move them. Long Kui berated. Xie Tianyang raised an eyebrow in thought. Well, that's quite true. With this brat's character, everywhere he goes, not even grass is left. Long Jiao muttered under his breath but actually agreed with Long Kui's assessment, What little Kuei said isn't without wisdom. This brat sure is greedy. Veiled Dragon Pavilion may be his ally, but we can't just give him our best ingredients. We can only provide 4th grade at most. But for some reason, the attendant in charge of giving him ingredients suddenly gave 5th grade ingredients too, and lots of them. We later questioned the old and loyal attendant, but he would rather take the blame for sneaking the ingredients out than to say anything. Ha ha ha, that brat sure has a way with people. Long Jiu chuckled. His eyes, however, were especially dignified. Xia Tianyang muttered, damn, I know this brat is vicious to everyone, enemy and friend alike. But he can even dig out Veiled Dragon Pavilion cornerstones. That's not quite right. The attendant is still fine, working for our house as we speak. Even he doesn't know what got into him at that time to help that brat out. Shuddering, Xia Tianyang and Jian Suifeng looked at each other as they sank in deep thought. They, who had a certain understanding of Zhuofan, now revised their opinion of him. We must not, by any means, act too friendly with him when we interact. Or he'll dig out everything from our house. The overseers were too focused on what happened in the arena to pay attention to their discussion. With every empty cabinet, their hearts bled harder. As the son-in-law to Drifting Flowers edifices, he shows not the least restraint when taking our things. But he even goes as far as not leaving anything. Chu Qingqing's angelic eyes now had a rare hint of killing intent. Rotten brat, isn't what's yours mine? What are you taking everything for? You'll soon be returning them anyway. Xiaoya took a few deep breaths to push her anger down. Boring her eyes into Zhuofan, she shouted at the 10 participants, with everyone ready, the Pill King round shall begin. Yuan Qi flames were ignited one after the other. Zhuofan was unmoving, however. Xiaoya gnashed her teeth and spat, Grandmaster Song, don't forget, you have to refine all the ingredients. Snorting, Zhuofan had a smile of disdain. You daft? I ain't that stupid. Wait for me to be crowned Pill King, take my prize, then skip town. What will you do then? Boom! Like a roar of a huge beast, the sound from a blood-colored flame shook everything as it reached the heavens. The instant it appeared, the alchemists close to it had their flames shriveled up. Squinting, Zhuofan laughed coldly inside. Humph, that old coot finally plans to show his true skill. Chapter 147, Amazing Display. Chapter 147, Amazing Display. This. Xiaoya jumped in fright from the sudden strange flame and turned in its direction. Luizhen smoothed his beard as he gave a chuckling apology to his fellow alchemists behind him. Haha, terribly sorry, it is the finals and I must give it my all. Do forgive me if I offend anyone. No matter how polite he made it sound, his eyes couldn't hide the pride he felt. The alchemists swallowed dryly and eyed the towering flame and then, to their own lifeless Yuan Qi kindle, feeling more and more despondent. How were they supposed to compete when another just snuffed out their efforts? They watched him with hatred in their hearts but also envy. Just where did this old guy get that flame from anyways? With that flame, his refining might reach the 6th grade. Xiaoya's eyes lit up and cried, Grandmaster Lu's flame must be from a 4th-level spiritual beast, the sky-blazing python's heart fire. I heard the sky-blazing python spends its time moving underground and its core is influenced by the earth's fire. It is so hot it can melt anything. No ingredient on this land cannot be refined with it. Grandmaster Lu must have been holding on to it for the final round. Ha ha ha, you sure are knowledgeable, girl. No wonder you're the judge. But besides a flame, one must also make use of an intricate refining skill. I have taken out this flame to increase my rank. However, I dare not aim for the crown. Luizhen shook his hand with modesty, but his pride was no different from one who thought of himself as the next Pill King. Hypocrite! Cursed the crowd, in particular, the alchemists who only had Yuan Qi flames and were influenced by the mighty blaze. He had a reason to be smug, of course, with how strong his 4th-level spiritual beast flame was. It not only increased his refining but also slowed down the others, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. With such a flame, if two people were of equal levels, one would have his refining boosted by 2 grades. His confidence was well placed. Even you, vicious pill king. My flame will lower you from 7th grade to 6th. Everyone could make this educated guess just from looking at the faltering flames around him. Just when the crowd was focused on the battle between Vicious Pill King and Zhuofan, it had now gotten even more confusing to whom the crown would place their bets on. Xiaoya sighed and watched Luizhen in admiration. He was the true black horse of the 100-pill meeting. He hit it well. She couldn't help asking this though, Grandmaster Lu, I heard that sky-blazing python is very rare and strong as a profound heaven expert. May I ask how you obtained its core's flame? Ha ha ha, that time was truly dangerous. About a year ago. Humph, you're so cocky with just a stinking snake flame. Just as Luizhen was about to retell his grand and historical venture, of the endless trials of hardship he had to go through, a snort stopped him short. Then marked by a humming, a small bluish flame flickered into existence. Its appearance cut the size of all Yuan Qi flames in half. What was even more astounding was the fact that even Luizhen's beast core flame shuddered as it turned lifeless. Crying out in shock, Luizhen turned to find Yan Fu holding a raging dark blue fire and sporting a condescending smile. This. Xiaoya cried, is this a 5th-level spiritual beast flame, from the fire swallow? Indeed. Yan Fu laughed coldly and mocked Luizhen, I have bested you in the imperial capital, old Lu, and I will do it again today. Don't get carried away in thinking the Pill King title is yours. Ha ha ha, how laughable. You think you're the only one in this world with a special flame? Beet red, Luizhen felt his anger boil but had no leeway to complain. He had to admit that a top alchemist was more than capable of getting himself a 4th-level spiritual beast flame. The least of all Yan Fu, who was Pill King Hall's core disciple. Sigh, I was too naive. In the end, who could compare with the 7 noble houses? Luizhen gave a wistful sigh. Before he could rise completely, another one came to knock him down to his place. Now recalling the smug look from before, it only worked to color his face red. Young Master Yan, Fire Swallow is a 5th-level spiritual beast that even Radiant Stage experts have trouble defeating. How did you get its flame? Xiaoya's eyes were riveted on the flame. Grinning, Yan Fu swept his eyes over Tao Danyang and the rest of Drifting Flowers Edifice's female disciples and laughed, this flame was bestowed by Pill King Hall to me, the greatest of its disciples. As for how, humph, Pill King Hall needs only to want something and it will soon have it. His words didn't reach the average disciple because of the competition's noise, but Chu Qingcheng and her overseers heard it clearly, and glared at him. Even Tao Danyang's green face turned gloomy and terrifying. But he couldn't care less as he began introducing it in his arrogance, alchemy is the balance of yin and yang. Old Lu's flame may perhaps be from a 4th-level spiritual beast, but the earth fire is too violent, unfit for refining pills. My flame, on the contrary, is fire yet it holds some water, it is also water yet it contains fire. Thus fire and water combine and yin and yang intertwine. It is the most fitting flame for alchemy. And only Pill King Hall's men know how to find such a flame, and so, the only ones who can be Pill King is. Suddenly, a green flame appeared before him. The common Yuan Qi flames shrunk again, and Luizhen with Yan Fu's spiritual beast flames were also cut down to size. Emerging like a beast king from deep in the mountains, the other flames prostrated before it. Yan Fu squinted and looked at Tao Danyang's green flame in shock, why you, that? Humph, your fire swallow flame is best suited for alchemy? You will first have to ask this 6th-level spiritual beast flame of mine, the Moonfire Falcon's flame. What, a 6th-level spiritual beast? This caused widespread shock. Not even a Radiant Stage expert would dare mess with such a being. Just how did Tao Danyang get hold of this marvel? Xiaoya grew happy and sighed. Tao Danyang was from Drifting Flowers Edifice, after all, and praised, Aunt Tao, how did you obtain the flame of a 6th-level spiritual beast? Humph, girl, why ask when you already know? You think my old body has the skill to go pull the life fire from the belly of a 6th-level spiritual beast? Tao Danyang cursed as she eyed Yen Fu, then the further away vicious Pill King. Trying to shake Drifting Flower's edifice's prestige? Then she shouted, "This is a fire is passed down in the Drifting Flower's edifice to its best alchemist. Girl, remember, this is not a flame that can be sought. The Moonfire Falcon flies 30 kilometers above and comes out at night to absorb the moon's een while eating the spiritual herbs in the mountains. This makes its flame have the essence of the moon. It can increase the grade of a pill in refining. How can a mere fire swallow's flame compare to it?" Under the guise of teaching Xiaoya, Tao Danyang was in fact speaking loudly to jab at Yen Fu. Yen Fu gnashed his teeth but kept silent. A 5th-level beast flame was a cut short compared to a 6th-level beast flame. Not to mention, the Moonfire Falcon ate many spiritual herbs in its life, making it far stronger than Fire Swallow. This ultimately made it unfit for comparison. Tao Danyang stuck her chin out in pride and mocked, "Pill King title is only fit for Pill King Hall, is it? Humph, punk, be careful of making too big a boost and unable to back it up." Shuddering, Yen Fu glared at her as he barked, "Old hag, don't get too happy. I am just a junior, not your match in alchemy. But don't forget, I'm not the best alchemist in Pill King Hall. My master, Vicious Pill King is." Yen Fu turned to Vicious Pill King and shouted, "Master, open the eyes of these ignorant fools and let them see your true strength." The people turned their attention to Vicious Pill King, waiting for the best alchemist in the empire to let out his best skill. Only the few Grandmaster alchemists who used Yuan Qi flames felt like crying looking at the puny flames in their hands. "Grandmasters, you're all so rich, you all have beast flames. But we are dirt poor, using the weakest flame made of Yuan Qi. Have some mercy and don't take out an even more amazing flame or our Yuan Qi flames won't take it. We won't even be able to cook rice, let alone pills." Chapter 148, Heaven and Earth Spirit Flame. Chapter 148, Heaven and Earth Spirit Flame. "Master!" Yen Fu's call echoed in everyone's ears, but Vicious Pill King seemed oblivious. His eyes fixed on one place only. It happened even at Yen Fu's second call. Following his sight, what lay at the end was the first spot where Zhuo Fan stood with his arms crossed and eyes closed. In Vicious Pill King's eyes, this opponent was the only one who could light his competitive spirit. Taking a deep breath, Vicious Pill King shouted, "Kid, don't you have any other special skills in store for this final round?" Flashing his eyes open, Zhuo Fan shot him a look and snorted, "If yours truly has or not, what's it to you?" "Quite a lot actually. I want to have a showdown with you, a fair competition. If you're still hiding your skills, then I shall be using the flame that had been with me for years to win. But if this is all you had to offer, I won't take advantage of your plight. Even keeping my flame hidden, I can still beat you just with a plain Yuan Qi flame." Such bold words. The people's hearts shivered, their faces gloomy. If Vicious Pill King said this before, none would have anything to comment. Just who could beat the best alchemist in the empire? But now, after losing to Zhuo Fan 3 times, his words were akin to an empty boast. "Oh please, don't you recall how Grandmaster Song, pissed, sneezed and farted you out of the second spot? If not for wasting half of your shriveled life, you'd never even be in this round. It happened just a few minutes ago. Did you go senile, you old coot?" Not only Chu Qingcheng looked derisory at him, but the rest of the audience as well. But Vicious Pill King only had eyes for Zhuo Fan. Anything else, even the despising glances directed to him, were of no consequence. Zhuo Fan squinted and snorted, "Humph, then let yours truly enlighten you. I indeed have hidden one skill. Don't you worry your old little head about it and go all out. The title of Pill King will be mine regardless." "Ha ha ha, alright. Then I shall rest easy. You are the first opponent in decades that can make me exert all my ability in alchemy. Please, after you." Raising an eyebrow, Zhuo Fan asked, "Why do you want me to go first? Shouldn't we both do it at the same time?" With an ambiguous smile, Vicious Pill King showed a proud expression, "Youngster, I'm not bragging when I say that even with your great refining skill, you won't finish that pill once I let out this old flame of mine. In hope that you can exert your best, I will start after you finish. It wouldn't matter if I finish a bit later. This round is based on the grade after all. Zhuofan's mouth perked at one corner and almost laughed. The old coot has total confidence in his flame. But so did he in regards to his azure flame, his secret weapon. Just that it got him wondering which was stronger, his azure flame or the old coot's. There is no doubt. Mine is better. It was one of those treasures that the demonic emperor would covet. Smiling, he said, since Elder Yen is so sure, by all means, take out your flame and let us all widen our horizons. While also letting me know if I should just give up right now. Yeah, master, just let them see your might. Yen Fu cheered. Laughing, Vicious Pill King never felt more excited as of this moment. If you want to see it so much, then here it is. With a cackling laughter, a white fire burned in Vicious Pill King's thin hand. Then, a wicked face appeared within the flame. That cackling laughter actually came from it. Its appearance snuffed out all the Yuan Qi flames around. Luizhen, Yen Fu, and Tao Danyang's beast flames acted as if something dreadful appeared and shrank to half their size, as if prostrating before their king. Shock was an understatement, as even Zhuofan's eyelids trembled. Who knew this old guy was actually hiding something so valuable? This, Tao Danyang was scared out of her mind. Yen Fu raised his head in pride and laughed. Do you see that? This is the flame master chanced upon a decade ago, the heaven and earth spirit flame, bone soul true fire. A heaven and earth spirit flame? SSS. Those words evoked gasps of sheer amazement from all around. The people watched the evil face in Vicious Pill King's hand and their hearts sighed. Even the alchemical disinclined knew that the heaven and earth spirit flame was made from gathered spiritual energy of heaven and earth that over millions of years and had gained spirituality. The flame was actually alive, a veritable king among flames. The 5th and 6th level beast flames were nothing compared to it. The flame was the body while the wicked face was the spirit of the bone soul true fire. It not only could refine any kind of ingredient but also amplify their effects and raise the grade of the pill. It was every alchemist's dream to have one. Vicious Pill King was the best alchemist in Tianyu for a reason after all. Now, no matter what secret refining skill Zhuofan used, it would be of no importance. Did you not see how the Yuan Qi flames got snuffed? They couldn't stand its power. Even those beast flames were shirking away. 3 things were of most importance to an alchemist: cultivation, refining skills, and flame. When the flame was wilted from the pressure of another, winning was impossible. Sighing, the people turned to Zhuofan, shaking their heads in pity. How sad, an extraordinary alchemist was so close to beating the best alchemist in Tianyu, but under the flame's suppression, failure is imminent. If he fails here, we will lose another genius. The heavens must be truly jealous of geniuses. The thought didn't even cross their mind if Zhuofan, with how young he was, and his background, had a flame that could counter Vicious Pill King's heaven and earth spirit flame. Since not even the 7 houses could pass along such flames. This old guy's luck had to be off the charts to stumble upon the bone soul true fire. Sensing everyone's fear and awe of it, the white flame's face cackled madly in excitement. The laughter was jarring to the ear and filled with boundless despise. Just like a ruler who won and lorded over his enemies. He. Tao Danyang sighed and closed her eyes. If she knew the old man to have such a spirit item, she wouldn't have wasted her energy and just gave up. Then again, now that she recalled, the one who won 3 times against Vicious Pill King was none other than him. Tao Danyang turned to Zhuofan and shook her head. Not even the brat can get out of this one. Chu Qingqing frowned in worry. She was looking at Zhuo in hope he had a way to turn it all around. But Zhuofan's face never wavered. He was always calm, as if he was in deep thought. The overseers were beside themselves in worry. Only Long Jiu's group was unfazed. According to Zhuofan's plan, winning wasn't a must. At worst he'd just bolt. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyun's group had long since started laughing. The old man actually had such a treasure hidden. Losing now is impossible, ha ha ha, Huangpu Qingyun laughed, Vicious Pill King is definitely worthy of his title. The others nodded, with the happiest being Lin Ziqian. At some point, he tied his fate with Vicious Pill King over a reason not he was sure of. But now that Vicious Pill King was at an advantage, the second young master was excited and he was basking in the glory nearby. Elder Lin. Huangpu Qingyun smiled. Lin Ziqian rushed next to him, yes. The moment the kid loses, rush over and take his head. Understand? Startled, Lin Ziqian said, why me? Isn't Elder Yen supposed to do this? Squinting, Huangpu Qingyun snorted, if he were to move, Qingqing would be sure to block him. I do not wish to further alienate her from me. Your Mary Woods is focusing on speed, so taking the kid's head in an instant is easy. Qingqing would be enraged but would not dare to make everything worse over a dead man. Realizing what he meant, Lin Ziqian gave a thumbs up, nice, second young master is truly wise. The other men felt their stomachs churning as they secretly cursed him for being shameless. Huangpu Qingyun's smile seemed to say everything was dancing in his palm. But just then, the crowd froze in shock seeing Vicious Pill King's flames swayed around Zhua as he laughed, ha ha ha, brat, now you know why I told you to go first? Even if you have a beast flame, it won't do you any good with my bone soul true fire out. Didn't you want to get your hands on the Bodhi root? Zhua Fan was still calm. Taking a deep breath, Vicious Pill King seemed to recall something and laughed, yes, I indeed want it. But what I want more is to win against you fair and square. To see who among us shall be the best alchemist in Tianyu. Defeating you because of the flame's power is not something I will ever accept. Zhua Fan looked long at him. He may be shameless and despicable, cunning and vicious, but when all is said and done he is a tough grandmaster alchemist. It's kind of a pity for him to be in the Pill King Hall. Chapter 149, The Monarchic Azure Flame. Chapter 149, The Monarchic Azure Flame. A wicked grin plastered on his face, Zhua Fan seemed to have something special in store. Yen Fu's heart seized. He understood his master's intention and wanted to advise against it, but Vicious Pill King shook his hand. Did the old fart turn senile? Huangpu Qingyun sensed the situation spiraling into an undesirable direction and clenched his fists. Lin Ziqian wiped the cold sweat from his brows, his mind was on edge. Old coot. You're vile and wicked, so why the hell are you doing the exact opposite at a crucial time like this? Cut the righteous act, both our lives are at stake here. Catching the Eastern Stand's people's reaction with a side glance, Zhua Fan swiveled his eyes on Vicious Pill King, old man, I appreciate the thought, but there really is no need for that. It's best you go ahead and refine. Vicious Pill King stared at Zhua Fan in astonishment. Zhua Fan's words were backed by unfaltering confidence. He did not propose to do it together and see who was stronger but directly urged Yen Song to go fist. Does he have an even stronger flame than Bone Soul True Fire? He fears that his flame will affect my own. Vicious Pill King's heart trembled, but he couldn't find it in himself to believe that the world could house a stronger flame than the Heaven and Earth Spirit flame. Ha ha ha. Youngster, don't brag. Taking your age and background into account, the most you can afford is a 4th-level beast flame. You think it's enough to stand toe-to-toe with mine? Vicious Pill King was probing Zhua Fan, who only smiled. Such action only made Zhua Fan look more mysterious that even the rest were at a loss for words. You're telling us that Grandmaster Song has a mystical flame that can stand against your Bone Soul True Fire? This would make the final round more exciting. 2 Grandmasters, 2 Heaven and Earth Spirit flames, fighting toe-to-toe for the crown. In a blink, the crowd's nervous eyes landed on Zhua Fan, eagerly awaiting his answer. Chu Qingcheng and the overseers were especially nervous. In terms of refining skills, Zhua Fan was a cut above Yen Song. Coupled with a possible Heaven and Earth Spirit flame, this could all work to compensate for his weak cultivation. Only Xie Tianyang felt disdained as he laughed, don't go and believe his hoshposh people. That brat is up to his neck in faking again. He is in a battle of minds with the old man. I've seen this trick too many times to count. Long Jiao and the rest nodded. With how deep and twisted the kid's plans went, it was very much plausible to be a tactic of his to unnerve Yen Song. Today's events proved it. Yen Song himself suffered at Zhuo Fan's schemes again and again, making him grow cautious. After some careful thought, he laughed. Kid, I am frank with you, but yet you still use such petty tricks to mess with my head. The same tactic won't work on me again. What makes you think I am? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Humph, by no means do you have a heaven and earth spirit flame, perhaps not even a beast flame. You are only pretending so as to disturb my mind. You used these cheap tricks in the previous 2 rounds already, and you want to do it again? Shaking his head, Zhuo Fan sighed, Vicious Pill King, you have such a low opinion of me. You take yours truly as nothing but a vicious and petty schemer whose plans only amount to lying about having a heaven and earth spirit flame to mess with your head? Is that what you think my plans amount to? I'm hurt. Pausing, Vicious Pill King realized it was indeed so. Zhuo Fan may have sneezed and farted, nothing but petty tricks, but it hit right when it hurt him the most. Each and every time, his focus crumbled at the most crucial moment. If his mind was not as strong, he would have long devolved into chaos, unable to continue refining. Compared to the last 2 times, Zhuo Fan's words now were a bit disbelieving, but not enough to affect his mind. This only threw Vicious Pill King into even deeper confusion. In his eyes, Zhuo Fan had become an enigma, whose every gesture and random act were filled with intricate mysteries. Never had he encountered such a baffling opponent in his life. Damn it, who'd have thought picking a fight with this punk would end up becoming a torment? Vicious Pill King couldn't come to a conclusion even after some long and hard thinking. He just gnashed his teeth in the end and howled, Brat, no matter what flame you have, take it out. I want to have a fair match with you, so stop jumping at every shadow. It is because I have the same wish that I do not want to reveal it. I still insist on letting you go first. Zhuo Fan sneered, if I do take it out, you might lose your desire to even compete. Starting together would end in your loss, no doubt about it. His words sounded even more cocksure than Vicious Pill King's from before. They were so outrageous that none of the people there believed him. A flame that can cow the best alchemist in the empire to surrender just at the sight of it, does it even exist? Not even Vicious Pill King was that outrageous before pulling out his white flame. Dude, take a closer look. He holds the Lord of the Flames, a heaven and earth spirit flame. Even if you have the same kind of fire, it will only result in a tie. Even if by some off chance it is stronger, how much could it actually be compared to Yen Song's? You're saying your flame is so freakish that it can suppress a heaven and earth spirit flame just as the latter suppresses beast flames? Did the world even have such a thing? Humph, he's clearly faking and bragging, yet none of his words sound believable. Xie Tianyang mocked. Vicious Pill King laughed, Kid, you take me for a 3-year-old? The world does not have such a savage flame. If you can take it out, then I will directly kowtow 3. Suddenly, his voice was choked with the appearance of an azure flame above 2 of Zhuo Fan's fingers. It was as calm as candlelight, unimpressive in the slightest. But this plain azure flame descended on the world like a monarch. Its invisible pressure befell like a mountain. The cackling bone soul true fire now seemed to have found its nemesis and scurried back into Vicious Pill King's body, never to come out again. Not even at Vicious Pill King's incessant urgings. If a heaven and earth spirit flame was so decisive, then Lu Yizhen's, Yen Fu's and Tao Danyang's beast flames were even worse. They had no spirituality, but they nonetheless trembled under the azure fire's pressure and died out. When the monarch of flames descended, no common flame dared to burn. All the fires died out in a blink, even the other alchemists. Only Zhuo Fan's frail azure flame let out a soft glow. The shock was incomprehensible. Even Vicious Pill King stared slack-jawed. What is this? The heaven and earth spirit flame ran? Vicious Pill King's body was swaying. He was the owner of Bone's soul true fire and could feel it shivering in fear. What flame is that? Zhuo Fan looked at his azure flame with a smile. Who knows? It's been given to me anyway. His cheeks twitching, Vicious Pill King trembled. Why is it that I wasn't lucky enough to have someone give me such a strong flame? When he chanced upon the Bone's soul true fire, he'd been so thrilled he couldn't sleep a wink for how much fortune smiled upon him. He could have died happy. But here, now, in Zhuo Fan's presence, his bit of luck was lackluster, to say the least. Now, do you still want to refine? Zhuo Fan snickered, letting the azure flame sway in front of him. Vicious Pill King's eyes reddened from envy. How the hell could he still refine? His entire mind was set on that frail flame. He was almost consumed by the desire to just seize it. Zhuo Fan laughed, knowing perfectly well what Yen Song was thinking. Now do you believe me? Well then, Vicious Pill King, let me ask you. Who's the petty one? Vicious Pill King felt like crying. God damn it. This punk is unfathomable. 3 rounds ago he spoke not a grain of truth and now he said the most unbelievable things, yet it turns out to be the whole and unfurnished truth. Curses. His plots are too sinister for me to unravel. Despite being filled with regret, Vicious Pill King still reddened as he admitted, "Pardon me, Grandmaster Song. I have wrongly mistaken a gentleman for being petty." Ha ha ha, lighten up. It's enough to know that I'm a perfect gentleman. Zhuo Fan laughed and not only made the old man redden harder from shame but even flaunted. Then, wanna go ahead and refine? Or maybe, together. You joking? Refine with you? How, when any and all flames were snuffed because of yours? I get why this punk said there was no competition if both refined together. Vicious Pill King sighed and admitted it despite the humiliation it brought. Pardons, Grandmaster Song. I was overconfident. I shall go ahead and refine first. Alright. With my generous nature, I shall let you begin. Zhuo Fan smiled and took back his azure flame while crossing his arms. Even so, he couldn't help himself from muttering, "Stingy, how unreasonable." His voice may have been soft, but all heard him. Vicious Pill King staggered. He was truly pissed but felt more aggrieved than anything else. I rarely want a fair fight and what do I get? Humiliation. Being good is not all that cracked up to be. He was oblivious though that as he was feeling sorry for himself. Zhuo Fan nodded in his mind and his mouth widened into a broad and satisfied smile. Chapter 150, Authority. Chapter 150, Authority. Holy cow, he wasn't faking. The brat did have a card up his sleeve. On the terrace, Xie Tianyang stumbled. Then it hit him, right, he used the same azure flame against Yugiki too. I took it as some martial art at the time but now I see that it's actually a heaven and earth treasure. It all made sense now, how he faced Hell Valley's profound ranked martial art and easily overcame it. The azure flame could easily handle a heaven and earth spirit flame so it was only natural to be able to deal with Yugiki's wicked skill. Xie Tianyang found himself looking at Long Jiu. This brat has so much stuff on him that makes him a walking treasury. Are you sure he's only a third-rate clan kid? Why are you looking at me for? I'm as clueless as you are. Long Jiu snorted then kept watching Zhuo Fan. Veiled Dragon Pavilion had looked again and again into Zhuo Fan's history but they always came with the same answer. A servant that never left the Luo clan. Yet the night of the Luo clan's demise marked his complete change. A mere servant took the four-membered Luo clan and pulled it through the crisis. Along the path of remarkable wisdom and deep schemes, he changed the fate of the Luo clan, turning it into a future opponent for the 7 noble houses. Veiled Dragon Pavilion weren't fools, of course, especially Long Jiu. Their new hatred for Hell Valley was all because Zhuo Fan instigated it. Yet, even so, they were willing to take this burden for him. First, just as Zhuo Fan predicted, Veiled Dragon Pavilion was not about to show weakness before their archenemy, Hell Valley. With how deep their hatred was, adding one more debt was of little concern. Not to mention, in the Great Battle of Windgaze City, making them carry the killing of those two elders was in fact a favor. Even when he was summoned by the Emperor, the Pavilion Lord was grinning from ear to ear. It had been years since Pavilion Lord was this excited. And secondly, Zhuofan's power shocked every one of them to the marrow. Even Veiled Dragon Pavilion's highly ranked men started discussing with Zhuofan when he was but a chi condensation cultivator. None of them could have come with a more perfect plan than his. Sowing dissension, escaping, bidding his time to land the final blow, it all may have seemed simple tactics, but their execution would have been far from his. This was something easily understood by reading the two houses' millennia-long feud. Moreover, Zhuofan was very skilled. Not only he could set up a fifth-grade array, but he also had many long-lost ancient arrays. After so many miracles, Pavilion Lord's quick decision to cooperate with Zhuofan was met with no objection. And that was only because this kid's actions left everyone unable to unravel his true purpose. From the looks of it, Zhuofan's change seemed to have started from that fateful night. Before it, he was just an honest-to-God and shy servant. After it, he changed into the sinister and cunning steward that none in the seven houses could compare with. That night was the crux. But what did happen that night? Taking a deep breath, Long Jiao was filled with confusion, trying to pick some hints by looking at the smug figure, only to sigh in the end. He may very well be the only one who knows the answer to this riddle. Totally oblivious of Long Jiao Group's comments, the overseers had long been skipping in joy at seeing Vicious Pill King taken down a peg again. Just like some 16-year-old girls, blushing to the ears. This was the finals after all. Pushing the old man back would help in increasing his chance of winning it. Xiao Dandan had never seen her senior aunt and master so happy in her life. She knew they were happy, and so was she, raising her pretty face in pride. As if to tell the world, here comes my man. As Chu Qingcheng saw that figure growing in authority, her heart grew with love, though still reserved enough not to be so frank about it as Xiao Dandan. But her eyes couldn't hide the warmth and feeling she had for him. On the eastern stand, Huangpu Qingyan's elegant visage was now twisted in rage. Even the most oblivious of his men could see he was best left alone, if they valued their life. But did that mean he wouldn't come to you by himself? Elder Lin. Huangpu Qingyan squinted and snapped. Lin Ziqian shivered and stood at attention, though his heart was on the verge of crying. Second young master, orders. Didn't you promise me that the old fool will win? Well, where is his win? He quoted fairness and offered to let the punk refine first, only to be shamed further. What fairness? He wouldn't have brought more shame on himself if someone else did that to him. Second young master, Elder Yen isn't the only one at fault. Lin Ziqian spoke over Huangpu Qingyun to curb his anger, or he would have been sent into the fray sooner than needed. At that time, that bastard Vicious Pill King would have been long gone and he unable to deal with the kid alone. To safeguard his life, he had to speak up. He continued anxiously, Second young master, you saw it too. It's not Elder Yen who is powerless, but that punk is just too freakish. Lin Ziqian stammered for a long time before coming with an apt description. The heaven and earth spirit flame is the lord of the flames. But who saw it coming that the brat would pull an even more freakish flame, rendering the lord of the flames inferior? None of us did. Huangpu Qingyun rose his hand at first but soon put it down. He had calmed down somewhat after those words, though his calmness was one that inspired fear. He looked at Zhuofan. Indeed, this is not on Elder Yen, but all because that brat is too strong. This was the first time Huangpu Qingyun admitted Zhuofan's strength. His men trembled. Their second young master was a man of immense pride who never acknowledged anyone. Yet here he was praising someone for their strength and was also quite sincere at it. Perhaps, Huangpu Qingyun's anger wasn't because of Yen Song's setback, but his unwillingness to admit someone could have the same authority as him. This was something a proud and domineering man like himself would never allow to happen. Therefore, they all looked at Zhuofan as if he was already dead. And sure enough, Huangpu Qingyun followed with, Elder Lin, there's no need to act anymore. I will kill that brat myself. Then what of Edifice Lord Chu? Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with naked killing intent. I want to avoid fighting with Qingqing, but I can never find peace until I kill the kid myself. His men's hearts shivered as they nodded. Whoosh! Vicious Pill King let out his white flame again and Xiaoya rushed to stop him. Forgive me, Elder Yan, but because of your flame and the beast flames, the other alchemists can't refine. So, to give a fair judgment I can only ask all of you to refine one at a time, from weak to strong. Humph, you want me to give way to them? Vicious Pill King snored, why should I? It won't matter even if my flame doesn't affect them. They don't rise to even one hair of mine. Giving way to them means wasting my time. Tao Danyang grew angry and glared at him. Yen Fu snickered at the side, finding it only natural. His master was the best in the empire, except the unknown kid that sprung up from who knew where. Who else could match his master? The alchemists, Luizhen included, were livid, but facts were facts. They had no ways to refute Vicious Pill King and could only sigh. Xiaoya found herself in a tight spot. What was planned to be the finals between 10 people, now became a clash of 2. Were the other 8 alchemists mere decorations to make them look good? What was the point of getting this far then? Too bad Vicious Pill King was the best alchemist in the empire and was dead set on his decision. The judge could do nothing. In Xiaoya's moment of anxiety and stomping, a lazy voice echoed. Old man, since it's a competition, give them a chance. Why do you have to be so hard? This startled everyone and turned to see Zhuo Fan still with his arms crossed and eyes closed, but smiling nonetheless. Frowning, Vicious Pill King muttered then withdrew his flame. Those alchemists who had it rough with just their Yuan Qi flames were overjoyed. While the others looked at Vicious Pill King dumbfounded. Even Yen Fu looked at Vicious Pill King as if he wasn't his master. Since when did his prideful master secede just like that because someone said so? This is mortifying. But the fact was, one word from Zhuo Fan was enough to make the grand and arrogant Vicious Pill King renounce his pride. What's going on? Did the old man get a personality change? Up in the eastern stand, Hell Valley's 5th elder was filled with puzzlement like everyone else. What they didn't notice, however, was Huangpu Qingyun's even thicker killing intent. Perhaps he was the sole person here who understood authority. It was what made others submit completely. He wielded the same authority, an obvious fact from the people around him that listened to his orders without question. But this authority was bestowed by Regent Estate. As these men submitted to Regent Estate's power, he could only thus order them. More clearly stated, they spoke yes while their hearts were against it. Only Huangpu Qingyun understood that Zhuo Fan had become the man with the most authority here. And his authority was based on the true submission of everyone present. Vicious Pill King was the perfect example, seceding with just some words. It was all because from the very beginning he grasped everyone's hearts, letting them take one step at a time in growing their faith in him. This was the true way of the ruling class in seizing authority. At first Huangpu Qingyun's killing intent at Zhuo Fan was rather hazy. He guessed it was because of a conflict of interest. But now he clearly wanted Zhuo Fan dead. After Lin Zitian spoke and Zhuo Fan showed a monarchic flame, he understood perfectly why Zhuo Fan had to die. He wasn't as narrow-minded as others thought him to be, that he couldn't stand someone more powerful than him. His decision to kill Zhuo Fan was because of the feeling he got from the latter. Every time Zhuo Fan did something, it was like an open challenge to his authority. How could a regent's authority be so easily challenged? A mountain wasn't big enough for 2 tigers. With 2 people knowing the way to grasp the hearts of the people, they would fight over authority and only one would come out victorious. Zhuo Fan had long noticed the killing intent coming from the eastern stand, but he was unfazed as ever, even sporting a scornful grin. Chapter 151, Clinging. Chapter 151, Clinging. Going with Xiaoya's proposal, the first to start were the 5 grandmasters who used Yuan Qi flames. They hastily took out their flames and gave a sign of gratitude at the other grandmasters. Although they were ranked among the best alchemists in Tianyu Empire, Zhuo Fan showed up with his heaven-defying refining skill that made them look as common as muck. This was clearly showed through the yawns of the crowd. Their refining resulted in 3 high and 2 mid 5th grade pills. Not one could go higher than 5th grade. The third round had such a grade as the target. Showing it now, in the finals, robbed them of any chance at getting the first place. They knew of their limits but chose to do it anyway so they could catch the eyes of some powerful clans. Grinning, Yen Fu patronized, "Master was right after all. Letting those idiots go first was a total waste of time." He threw Lu Yizhen a side glance and sneered, "Lu old man, weren't you bragging about using your 4th level beast flame to freaking press us all down into making a 5th grade pill? He, I have no intention to be pill king. Just getting ahead of a twerp like you and washing away the disgrace is enough," Lu Yizhen said as he caressed his beard. Yen Fu seemed to have heard the biggest joke ever. "Ha ha ha, old man, losing is losing. What are you doing tacking that cocky tone? Not to mention, my beast flame is stronger than yours. And you still think of besting me? Humph, alchemy isn't based on flame alone. Last time I lost in terms of speed, but when it comes to refining abilities, I am above you, twerp." Lu Yizhen's hand burned with his beast flame as he threw in all kinds of ingredients. Yen Fu had a constant sneer on his face. As seconds trickled by, the scarlet flame blazed constantly, illuminating Lu Yizhen's hard red face. Suddenly, Lu Yizhen spat a blood arrow into the flame. The fire exploded and a scarlet pill twirled in the air before he caught it. Lu Yizhen ignored the blood on his mouth as he gasped. He glowered at Yen Fu and revealed a crazy smile as he showed the pill. "Brat! Tell me, what grade is this?" Yen Fu stared at the old man and gnashed his teeth in reply. But Xiaoya yelped, "Grandmaster Lu refined a high 6th grade pill." "Say what?" The audience was in an uproar. Grandmaster Lu was a 5th grade alchemist, but he actually managed to refine a 6th grade pill. This was something not even a fresh 6th grade alchemist could pull off. Was it really all because of the 4th level beast flame? Could it be? Whoosh! Yen Fu cut their second-guessing short by letting his blue flame out. The raging tongue of flame shined in his pair of eyes as if they themselves contained a deep fire within. Whoosh! Ingredients flew into it one after another, refining and mixing. He did it with such practiced ease that it looked no different than eating, earning no few praises. Zhuo Fan was too awesome earlier, so Lu Yizhen and Yen Fu's limelight got smothered. People now bore witness to a youth, who, while not as freakish as Zhuo Fan, was by all intents and purposes a genius of alchemy. He was indeed an expert alchemist hailing from Pill King Hall. Suddenly, Yen Fu also bit his tongue and spat blood essence. It fused with the blue flame in a blink. Lu Yizhen's pupils contracted as his weak body trembled. His lips parted but no words could come out from the sheer shock that grasped his mind. Whoosh! The fire vanished and a bluish pill shined. He grabbed it and showed it to Lu Yizhen. Yen Fu was pale and blood dripped from his mouth, painting a gruesome image when coupled with his smile. "Old man, tell me, what grade is this?" Looking closely, Lu Yizhen shook his head sullenly. He was now too dejected to even reply. Yen Fu let out an unrestrained laughter. Xiaoya flicked closer and looked in shock. Young Master Yen Fu refined a low 7th grade pill. What? The audience exploded. There was now another 7th grade alchemist in the Pill King Hall besides Vicious Pill King. And one so young at that. At the side, Tao Danyang couldn't help sucking her teeth. They're both insane. They have no shot at becoming the Pill King with Vicious Pill King around, so why still refine with blood essence? Is their grudge so deep to warrant such illogical action? Losing a drop of blood essence meant an injured vitality that could persist through years. If one was careless in their recovery, it could lead to permanent damage. Worse would be stunted cultivation. An alchemist would never use such a method unless the situation was dire. Vicious Pill King did it to barely qualify. You too, however, the hell you just up and harmed yourself for some simple refining? Tao Danyang cursed them inside but was in fact hesitating. She was a 6th-grade alchemist who should have had no problem with these two. But God knew what got into them, using their blood essence to refine. Yen Fu even managed to land a 7th-grade pill. If she too didn't bleed, Yen Fu would win. What goddamned face will I have left then? Gnashing her teeth and stomping, Tao Danyang's eyes flashed with resolve and the green flame appeared in her hand. I've been at this even before you were born. You think I have lost my touch? Ingredients spiraled inside the flame. When it was almost done, she also bit her tongue and spat a blood arrow. When the flame died out, Tao Danyang's weak body reached for the pill with a gleeful smile. Heavens! It's a mid-7th-grade pill. Xiaoya's outcry agitated the crowd. Only Yen Fu and Luizhen looked at her puzzled. Old hag, we decided on settling our accounts from the Imperial Capital Alchemy competition. So what are you trying to pull? Ugh! Tao Danyang almost spat blood in anger. But seeing the two of them confused, her face went red and tried to cover it with a snort. I'll have you know that there is a mountain beyond a mountain as there's someone above another. You two have a long way to go. Don't let yourself caught up in thinking only you two exist in this contest. You need to set your eyes further into the distance. There are many adversaries ahead. Tao Danyang sighed and through this lesson, she recovered her bearing. But the two weren't grateful in the least. Old hag, we focused on each other because we wished to settle a score. How does this have anything to do with you? Yen Fu raised an eyebrow and spoke vaguely, you think we don't know of mountains beyond mountains and someone above another? Aren't they clearly master and that brat? What's the point of even saying it? Luizhen nodded in full accord. These two are prime examples. What are you trying to teach us? Tao Danyang sank into silence, lost for words. Seeing the two of them sporting wise gazes, she was itching to kick them. You think I'd waste blood essence to uphold my reputation if it weren't for you two morons doing it first in your dumb fight? I wanted out of this awkward situation with my name intact, but you bastards aren't even giving me that. Speaking of which, I can expect it from this prick, Yen Fu, since he's from Pill King Hall. But what of you, Luizhen? So old and you don't know how to show some respect? Tao Danyang gnashed her teeth in rage. But no one cared about her. At this moment, all eyes were on Vicious Pill King. Despite this round being a showdown between 10 contestants, it was in fact between only 2. Squinting, Vicious Pill King stared hard at Zhuo Fan. Whoosh! With an evil laughter, the Bone Soul True Fire re-emerged. He was in no hurry to throw ingredients in, choosing to spit blood essence again. Master, no! Yen Fu cried. Vicious Pill King already did this in the 3rd round, harming himself. If he did it again then he would be left with scarring injury, or worse, die from severe trauma. But Vicious Pill King no longer cared. How often did he meet a real opponent? To defeat Zhuo Fan, his greatest adversary, he was willing to do everything he could, even pay with his life. Vicious Pill King then threw ingredients in the flame, getting it refined in an instant in the Bone Soul True Fire, mixing along with his blood essence. Suddenly, Vicious Pill King spat blood essence again. This shocked even Tao Danyang. Has the old man lost it? It may increase the pill's grade greatly but it will also threaten his life. Vicious Pill King hardly cared. His eyes filled with endless madness. Yen Fu fell to his knees, with tears streaming down his cheeks. Master, what happened to you? Whoosh! Only now did the ever-relaxed Zhuo Fan open his eyes, watching Vicious Pill King with an even gaze. But noticing Zhuo Fan watching him, it got Vicious Pill King even more excited. Chapter 152, Cradle Returning Dragons. Chapter 152, Cradle Returning Dragons. Whoosh! The raging flame made a clear contrast with Vicious Pill King's wan face. The once imposing and tough old man now appeared frail and with one foot in the grave. His body swayed in the breeze, a moment away from collapsing. But he clenched his teeth and persevered. He grinned at Zhuofan, who was looking back at him, with excitement. As if to challenge Zhuofan, Vicious Pill King's gestures changed and the flame soared. Losing blood essence 3 times in a day along with supplying so much yuan qi had taken its toll on his aged body. Sweat began to fall from not just his face as his hands grew paler and seemed to age with the naked eye. But his eyes danced in joy as he saw the pill slowly form within the flame. His behavior even stirred the sympathy of those who hated him to the core, including Chu Qingcheng and the overseers. Vicious Pill King is vile and twisted, but one had to admit his alchemy skill is worthy of admiration. He lives up to his name as the first alchemist in the empire. Long Jiao sighed in praise. The others nodded, watching Vicious Pill King with the same feelings. Despite being on opposite sides, a hero was worthy of respect. Bone Soul True Fire was indeed a heaven and earth spirit flame. And in the expert hands of Vicious Pill King, the pill was completed in no time at all. The pill was ready to be taken out of the inferno. But right at this moment, Vicious Pill King spat more blood essence. Everyone was nervous when it entered the fire. A humming spread and the Bone Soul True Fire burned hotter. At the same time, a pill shined brightly and flew out of the fire with a cackle. The sound of the laughter was in fact the same as Bone Soul True Fire's. Vicious Pill King bestowed the pill with spirituality. Long Jiao sighed in amazement. The others looked on in shock at the incredible dancing pill. It was a known fact that a heaven and earth spirit flame could instill spirituality into a pill, but doing it was a whole another matter. In Tianyu Empire's 1,000-year-old history, there had been accounts of alchemists possessing a heaven and earth spirit flame, but none of them were able to refine a living pill. This rumor came from outside the borders. But for such an alchemist to appear even after such a long time, it was still rarer than rare. The entire continent might not have had such a genius appearing over the last half millennia. But Vicious Pill King had done it. Zhuofan with his dazzling performance had made the people neglect this #1 alchemist in the empire. But now he used his power to prove he was still the best. With a gesture, the pill entered his hand and Vicious Pill King's hair started swirling in the air. He slowly raised the pill in Zhuofan's direction, his eyes recovering their pride and arrogance. He was weakened but let the people see this old man teetering towards collapse like a lofty giant. This. Xiaoya opened and closed her mouth speechless. In the end, she finally managed to express her doubt. Odd, the pill looks to be above the 7th grade but not quite in the 8th. What does it mean? Squinting, Vicious Pill King didn't respond. Only stared rivetingly at Zhuofan. It was an open provocation. Chuckling, Zhuofan said, "It is without a doubt a 7th grade pill, albeit a perfect one. If you insist on defining it, you can call it a grade-skipping pill. But it is in fact this kind of pill the hardest to refine in one's alchemical journey. It may be a 7th grade pill, but its worth supersedes a common 8th grade pill." The crowd was in complete shock. This was their first time hearing of a 7th grade pill that exceeded an 8th grade pill. Even some low-grade alchemists were dumbstruck. Though the 5th grade alchemists and above were fully aware of the reason. There were, in fact, some alchemists who had a 100% chance of refining 5th grade pills that could touch upon how to reach the perfect quality. But never, even after they entered the 6th grade, had they achieved it. Thus 6th grade pills were easy to refine, while perfect 5th grade pills were nigh impossible. To them, refining a grade-surpassing pill was a talent among talents. Talent was already needed to become a high-grade alchemist, but for refining a perfect pill one had to be a genius. It was clear Vicious Pill King was such a man. In an instant, the people's image of Vicious Pill King grew exponentially. Vicious Pill King, however, didn't care about such things. His eyes were on one man only. That man was the sole person qualified to make him stake his life in this competition. Following his eyes, the crowd's sight landed on Zhuofan. They now knew why Vicious Pill King went all out in this refining, even risking his life to make a perfect pill. It was all to beat the strongest opponent he ever had. They were all watching Zhuofan, eager to see his reaction. A clash between heavyweights, a match among peak Grandmaster alchemists was a rare occurrence. After today, none may get the chance to see another again. This only worked to raise their spirits higher. Taking a deep breath, Zhuofan began pondering. None disturbed him either in the deafening silence that ensued. Yet the people's eyes were fixed on Zhuofan, not leaving him for even a blink. With gloom ever present on his face, Huangpu Qinyan's killing intent only grew. The more Zhuofan could grasp the hearts of the people, the more threatened he felt of his authority. He was certain of one thing: Zhuofan had to be dealt with. Long Jiu's group frowned, waiting for Zhuofan's next move. Chu Qingcheng and the overseers watched on edge. The strangest thing that happened was Chu Qingcheng no longer cared about the prevalent grudge between Pill King Hall and Drifting Flowers Edifice. Her mind was solely preoccupied with Zhuofan, of how he would respond to vicious Pill King. In this tense atmosphere, even the crowd forgot this was an alchemy contest, only caring about the match between two peak Grandmaster alchemists. It mattered not who won, because they were waiting for the two of them to give them the shock of their lives. After a moment of deep thought, Zhuofan let out a long breath and his face revealed a mysterious grin. So that's how it is. Let's give it a try. Chuckling, he turned to vicious Pill King. Any man who spat blood essence 5 times is bound to die. Old man, you did it 4 times today, which was quite impressive. If I don't get it together and show something special, I would only be insulting you. You are correct. Vicious Pill King grinned fearlessly and as excited as before. There was nothing more thrilling than seeing one's greatest opponent answering his challenge by going all out. Zhuofan noticed his excitement and chuckled as he walked next to his cauldron. With him moving, so did the countless pairs of eyes. Zhuofan was now the center of attention, the life of the party. His every gesture stirring the hearts of many. Rustle. He leisurely lit up the fire and snapped his finger. Tens of spirit stones revolved around the cauldron before falling into an intricate and bizarre shape. The people looked at each other dumbly. What is Grandmaster Song doing? Setting an array. What did that have to do with alchemy? Even vicious Pill King as well as the rest of the alchemists were clueless of his intention. Since time immemorial, alchemy and arrays never intersected. What was his purpose? Ignoring the baffled audience, Zhuofan's hand made a sign and chanted, Heaven's gate, Earth's locks, open for me. Let thy spiritual energy flood this array. Assist my heavenly fire in opening its eyes. Let spirits and dragons enter this pill. The world quaked and with it, the Drifting Flowers arena started to rumble. Everyone was rattled, not knowing what was happening. Right then, creepy laughter echoed as dark shadows from all directions flew towards Zhuofan and revolved above his head. Then they slammed into the core of the array. At the same time, dragon roars echoed and dragon images flew from the core of the array, under the gobsmacked faces of everyone. When the world stopped shaking, the shadows were gone and the sky was crowded by 9 dragon images. Zhuofan snapped his finger and threw an azure flame into the cauldron. The dragons seemed elated as they flew around agog before slamming inside the cauldron. In a blink, a deeper dragon roar was heard and an azure fire dragon burst out of the cauldron. It was then followed by the other 8. The azure fire inside the cauldron was now gone, absorbed by the dragons. With his eyes flashing, Zhuofan grinned as his hands danced. Hundreds of ingredients took to the sky at that moment. Secret pill array, cradle returning dragons. Zhuofan shouted and the 9 fire dragons responded with a roar before flying into the ingredients floating about. Chapter 153, Dragon Transformation Array. Chapter 153, Dragon Transformation Array. Boom! The thunderous roars rang in people's eardrums. It then followed with a resplendent light, so glaring that they couldn't open their eyes. Once the light died out and the 9 dragons' roars passed, all the ingredients were gone from the sky. But under closer attention, one could see that the 9 fire dragons had changed. Within their body made of azure flames, a line coursed through them like a blood vessel. But instead of blood, it was flowing with the ingredients' extracts. Instant refining. The people watched Zhuo Fan incredulously. They recalled Zhuo Fan's ninth heaven roaring dragon claw with which he instantly refined third-grade pill ingredients. But he had now achieved the same result with hundreds of seventh-grade pill ingredients. Such speed raised his refining skill to another level of comprehension. Even Vicious Pill King had to admit, he could not accomplish such a feat otherwise, he wouldn't have taken this bone-tempering brat as his strongest adversary. This was just the start of everyone's shock. The greatest awe was how the 9 dragons had different colored mixtures flowing through them. Zhuo Fan just up and separated the ingredients in the instant they were refined. Speed refining seemed simple, but it touched upon one's control over the ingredients and his flame. A stronger flame would ruin the ingredient while a weak one wouldn't refine them. Regarding the difficulty of control, each successive ingredient grade would be like vaulting heaven. This was the wall that had so many alchemists standing before it, unable to advance. Zhuo Fan's instant refining needed absolute control, which was even harder. Not even Vicious Pill King could do it. Zhuo Fan not only did it but went a level further in his control, separating the hundreds of ingredients into 9 types. This was something Vicious Pill King didn't think was possible. Some pills, especially poisons, needed the extracts divided, followed by careful mixing. The Pill King Hall's poison palm was no exception. It turned refining into a very precise task, with every ingredient refined independently. One blunder would add impurities and ruin the batch. Yet, Zhuo Fan refined 9 types of ingredients in a flash. Such accuracy was something the audience could not even begin to fathom, and this was what got Vicious Pill King so overwhelmed. How did the world give birth to such a mystical refining skill and such an outstanding genius alchemist? Who? As Vicious Pill King had known, this step was the hardest when making pills. Even Zhuo Fan couldn't help but let out a breath when this step was completed. The perceptive Xiaoye knew Zhuo Fan was at a crucial step and didn't disturb him. Now that he relaxed, she couldn't rein in her curiosity any longer. Grandmaster Song, what was that secret skill? It is no lie to say that it shook the world. Ha ha ha, a mere pill array, a simple little array to help in refining. Zhuo Fan chuckled and turned to Vicious Pill King. His provocation, however, was loud enough for everyone to hear him. For a high-grade pill to become a grade-surpassing pill, it has to have spirituality. Using blood essence to make the heaven and earth spirit flame spirituality instill a spirit into the pill is one way. But that's too dangerous. If all alchemists did it, 9 out of 10 would die. Truly idiotic. Vicious Pill King's eyelid twitched, feeling the naked irony within. This brat was teaching him a lesson. Like a senior teaching his juniors. This stung him hard. But Zhuo Fan's words were correct. Vicious Pill King would have never braved such danger if he was but a greenhorn alchemist. Then, did you also instill spirituality into the pill, Grandmaster Song? Xiaoye asked in awe while looking at the 9 majestic dragons. Nodding, Zhuo Fan had a cocksure grin. Spirituality is instilled only by pouring heaven and earth spirituality into the pill. A heaven and earth spirit flame has such a property, albeit incomplete. The soul of a heaven and earth spirit flame is merely formed over millions of years within the earth by accumulating the spirits of the earth. Just take out the spirits and you can instill spirituality. Does that mean those gray shadows were the spirits of the earth? Correct. Spirits are all around us, just that they do not persist for long, nor do they have awareness. The locations of the 7 houses were chosen with dense spiritual energy in mind. A place like that gives birth to many spirits, but not just anyone can find them. Chuckling, Zhuo Fan pointed at the array. In the long-forgotten past, alchemy and array were one specialty. But as there were many different sects, alchemy and arrays diverged, to the point many ancient arrays are lost. The array that I set up today is the Ancient Dragon Transformation Array. It draws the spirits around and transforms them into dragon spirits. Not a true dragon, mind you, but one containing just a hint of a true dragon spirit's might. A striking difference from a heaven and earth spirit flame spirituality formed over millions of years. Despite the shock they were in, Zhuo Fan's words brought them further amazement. They had endless admiration for him. This pill array was in no ancient book, moreover, no one had heard of it either. But Grandmaster Song not only had vast and widespread knowledge about all aspects but even grasped the intricacies of a pill refining array. Considering all the secret refining skills he displayed today, there might not be a second one like him in the entire continent, least of all this empire. An exalted of alchemy. Vicious Pill King couldn't be clearer on this. However, he still clung onto a thread of hope. He may have lost in terms of refining skills, but he won over Zhuo Fan in terms of cultivation. The possibility of victory was still there. Zhuo Fan chuckled, as if in response to Vicious Pill King's thoughts. Zhuo Fan's eyes flashed and his hand signs changed. The 9 fire dragons roared and whipped their tails in the center of the array. Boom! With an earth-shattering noise, the 9 tails collided. They broke off from the dragons and crumbled down into flames that ultimately mixed together. With another roar, the flame burst into 9 dragonlings. These dragonlings' blood vessels were of the same color, flowing azure. The erudite found it incredulous how Zhuo Fan refined the 9 concoctions into a single mix in an instant. Instant refining again. A moment of extreme importance, one that required perfect control, was done in a blink. This got even those Grandmaster alchemists peeved. Grandmaster Song, your refining skill is great and all, but can you please tone it down? Are you doing all the hard steps so casually just so you can rub our faces in it? Would it hurt to take at least a second while doing it? They were all in envy and depression over the might of such an exotic refining skill. Roar! The 9 tailless fire dragons roared and charged to the center of the array. This time, head first. Boom! As before, the 9 tailless dragons blended into a sea of fire. The next moment, another 9 dragonlings emerged from the blaze. And just as the first 9 dragonlings, these had the same azure bloodstream. 18 roaring dragonlings were truly an impressive spectacle. Ha ha ha, time to wrap it up. Squinting, Zhuo Fan's hand flashed and a small bottle appeared. He opened it, releasing a soothing smell filled with vitality. Bodhi Jade Sap. With trembling eyes, the Grandmaster alchemists watched Zhuo Fan in shock and puzzlement. They all knew Bodhi Jade Sap was Drifting Flowers Edifice's treasure. So how did it end up in Grandmaster Song's deft hands? Was he Drifting Flowers Edifice's? It all started to make sense. But even so, the shock was immense. Where did Drifting Flowers Edifice find this exalted Grandmaster Song? In today's alchemy competition, he smacked the face of Pill King Hall for no less than 100 times. The structure of Tianyu's alchemy system was going to change. Pill King Hall was no longer at the top. Such a change had countless implications. It was a known fact that Pill King Hall was the imperial family's pill supplier. If they weren't the best in Tianyu, why would the imperial family buy from them? People started to draw conclusions. Drifting Flowers Edifice's 100-pill meeting was a platform for Pill King Hall to show off their own skills. But how could the ordinary masses have known? Behind the scenes, Vicious Pill King alone had almost driven the entire Drifting Flowers Edifice to collapse. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan was not even specifically invited by the Drifting Flowers Edifice to deal with Pill King Hall's Vicious Pill King. If the masses had known, they would most likely have the same expression as those from Drifting Flowers Edifice. The 2 overseers were smiling. Zhuo Fan might not have been invited by them, but he was, nonetheless, Drifting Flowers Edifice's son-in-law. With Zhuo Fan at the helm, Pill King Hall would be held in check. Chu Qingcheng was thinking the same thing. She was rejoicing that her rash action proved to be a choice with incredible implications towards better. Only Zhuo Fan begged to differ. He was only doing what he had to. Chapter 154, Transcending Pill King. Chapter 154, Transcending Pill King. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Let the dragons feast, perfect the pill. Zhuo Fan's shout was followed by a vigorous shake of the hand, sending 18 drops of Bodhi Jade Sap into the air. The 18 dragonlings acted like cats catching the smell of fish, nabbing a drop each. Roar! As the dragonlings roared, their body dissolved into azure flames followed by their heads and leaving a ball of azure fire. Then the fire scattered to reveal upon the world a shining azure pill. It released a soothing smell, gripping the hearts of everyone there. What grade is it to have such an astonishing effect? The people stared unblinking at the 18 dancing pills. These pills had yet to renounce their dragonic nature, roaring as they traveled the sky. All 18 of them were clearly alive. What got people so distraught was that while Vicious Pill King nearly gave his life to make just one, Zhuofan flipped his hand and there went 18 of them dancing across the sky. This feeling was something words weren't enough to describe. Just how many times did one need to surpass Vicious Pill King's skill to breach this gap? There was no need for judging at this point. Everyone was dead set that Zhuofan was the winner. And this time, his victory was perfect, incontestable, thoroughly crushing the opposition. Taking a small bottle, Zhuofan waved for the 18 pills. He put them inside without even letting Xiaoya take a single peek. Xiaoya was alarmed. Grandmaster Song, the pills you refined. No need to see them. Zhuofan cut her off with a shake of his head. He turned to the dumbstruck and collapsed Vicious Pill King and muttered, I won. Pure confidence. The whole crowd watched the calm and proud Zhuofan with a sense of awe. They looked at him as if he was their sole king. His cocky and obnoxious attitude came back in full force as well, making them all bend their knees. In alchemy, I am the first. Who dares claim my throne? Zhuofan stood there, quietly, giving the Grandmaster alchemists a whole new meaning to how small they felt. He was a true pill king. A pill king with unquestionable authority. Xiaoya was the closest to Zhuofan. She bore the brunt of his aura, but was fast to recover also. Grandmaster Song, I'm convinced you have gone beyond mere winning. But please, explain to us, what grade are they? 18 pills, all of perfect 8th grade quality. Zhuofan deadpanned. The crowd erupted in surprise. The Grandmaster alchemists knew he exceeded their imagination, but never knew the full extent of it. How sheerly unbelievable it all was. Vicious Pill King could refine a perfect 7th grade pill and he was already at the peak of his skill. When people saw the 18 pills, despite the shock, they only went as far as thinking Zhuofan refined them as perfect 7th grade pills. It was more than enough to surpass Vicious by many times. But this little prick went even further beyond anyone's guess. He not only surpassed him but went a full grade above. Perfect 8th grade pill. That was something not even a 10th grade alchemist could accomplish consistently, least of all 18 of them in one breath. Such heaven-defying skill was only mentioned in legends, hearsay. How could it ever be a reality, here and now? This cheeky little prick was that much of a monster. They shouted at him in their hearts, but they could not hide the sheer admiration and respect they held for his incredible refining ability. Vicious Pill King himself was floored. His green hair became white under the naked eye. He aged dozens of years in just one breath. It was an astonishing defeat. Vicious Pill King never had suffered such a thorough and complete loss. It left him with no chance of a comeback. This Pill King had discovered today that his refining ability was nothing when faced with a true expert. The despair, the grief, was harder to bear than even death. Yen Fu watched his master's loss with a pained heart. He flicked a glare at Zhuofan, but all he could do was gnash his teeth. This brat is too damn strong. Master was never his match. And I will never get the chance to catch up to him either. As there was a man beyond the next, so was a sky beyond another. It was such an apt description that no one could refute it. He took Master as his role model. Acting as brash as him, thinking his master was the best alchemist in the world. But then came the day his master was defeated, hopeless of even taking revenge. Such a gap was no different from a chasm. Tao Danyang ought to be going wild with joy seeing Yen Song's crushed spirit. But it never came. Every new wave drove higher than its predecessor, who died on the sandy beach. Didn't Yen Song's defeat mark the end of their generation of Grandmaster alchemists? The world was going to be tumultuous. A warrior of the new generation was already standing on their corpses, breaking the grounds of a new age. Turning to Zhuo Fan next to her, Tao Danyang was grateful. Fortune helped them to have him as drifting flowers edifices. Long Jiao and the rest watched it all with a sigh. God damn it, this prick sure knows how to act. He said it wasn't clear that he could lose against Vicious Pill King. And the end result? Not only did he win, but got a freaking perfect win. And not just a perfect win, but crushed him thoroughly. Xia Tianyang couldn't help cursing to high heavens despite the shock. For God's sake, just look at Vicious Pill King. He got his life scared out of him by that brat, even I feel sorry for him. Long Jiao nodded gravely, the brat is beyond ruthless. He won't let the other have anything left. A single perfect 8th grade pill was more than enough to win it by a landslide, but he went as far as to make 17 more, striking a fatal blow to Vicious Pill King. I fear he might never recover from this trauma for as long as he lived. You're speaking of a heart demon? Xia Tianyang raised an eyebrow. Nodding, Long Jiao's eyes flashed. Even without it, he may never get to refine a high-grade pill in his life. That brat's vicious retribution leaves everyone in dread. They all had to nod at that. Then the pill king of this 100-pill meeting is. As the crowd raved, Xiaoya pointed at Zhuo Fan while shouting. Before she could finish, however, quick steps were heard approaching. Zhuo Fan was slowly and calmly walking towards the center stage. Xiaoya was startled. Grandmaster Song, what? Only I have the right to declare myself as Pill King. Throwing that casual sentence, Zhuo Fan didn't even look at her and walked past her. The crowd was in awe again. He has the aura of a king. He is without a doubt this generation's Pill King. Xiaoya suddenly forgot she was the judge here and blushed a bit. She was so lost in Zhuo Fan's flair that she forgot to do her job. Xia Tianyang sighed enviously, he is an expert at putting on airs. When will I get the chance to do the same, I wonder? Just one time is all I ask. Under the chaotic shouts from all around him, Zhuo Fan arrived before the stage. He swallowed when he saw the wooden box and a weight fell off his heart. Chu Qingtian, wearing your cloak up to this point, I can rest at ease to say that I have returned your sister's debt. Zhuo Fan let his cloak fall and walked on stage. The people were struck into silence. They saw the cloak spread on the steps of the stage and the words on it and were moved. Heaven toppling. Pill. It all started with a murmur, but it soon grew into an ear-splitting roar. They all started to pump their fist and join, heaven toppling pill, heaven toppling pill, heaven toppling pill. Indeed, Pill King was far beneath a man of Zhuo Fan's caliber. In their hearts, only this title, Heaven Toppling Pill, was fit to Grandmaster Song's genius. Chu Qingqing covered her mouth, her eyes flowing with tears. The people acclaimed Zhuo Fan as Heaven Toppling Pill, but it was in fact Chu Qingtian's wish. Zhuo Fan had taken her little brother's place and fulfilled his cherished wish. Her eyes on him now contained an even deeper love. Vicious Pill King was in a daze as he heard the roars and looked at the 4 words on the stage's steps. He seemed to be both crying and laughing, Heaven Toppling Pill. I never thought there was a man in this world who'd use these words. Qingtian, I have lost today at his hands, and yours. Vicious Pill King seemed to have lost it. But his eyes seemed to have realized something as they got clearer. Taking a deep breath, Zhuo Fan was cool, despite the turmoil banging his ears. He did not look at the cloak again, as it had no more sway on him. He did what he had to. He paid the favor he owed. And now followed with his true objective. Zhuo Fan's eyes turned colder and reached for the wooden box on the pedestal. But with a sudden sound, a golden fist caught him off guard. Punk, you are far from worthy of taking the Bodhi route. Watch out! Chu Qingqing paled at the danger he was facing, but her warning came too late. The iron fist struck Zhuo Fan square in the chest. Zhuo Fan's eyes suddenly turned vicious. His act as Song Yu was done. Now, it was time for the demonic emperor, Zhuo Fan, to re-enter the scene. Chapter 155, True Demon Revealed. Chapter 155, True Demon Revealed. Whoosh! Zhua Fan vanished the next moment. Huangpu Qingyan's heart was in distress. How could a bone-tempering kid escape his sneak attack? Thunder rolled and Huangpu Qingyan's heart froze, feeling danger creeping up on him. His only reaction was a slight tilt of his head. Whoosh! A flash of lightning streaked past his face, drawing blood. Huangpu Qingyan's forehead was soaked with sweat. He had a keen danger sense, otherwise his head would have rolled off his shoulders. Bam! He may have avoided the killing blow, but a hammer blow shot into his belly. He felt pain down to his marrow as if a cannon shot at him. With a rumble, he flew back and created a 3-meter-wide hole in the Drifting Flowers arena wall. It all happened in a blink. It was unclear how he was even attacked, only to ultimately end up through the wall. The snicker on those on the eastern stand froze. What was going on? How did Huangpu Qingyan lose when he was the one with greater power, when he was the one at the advantage? His opponent was but a bone-tempering kid. Aghast, the people looked towards the center stage only to feel their faces twitching. Zhua Fan was standing there in all his glory, with the lightning wings flickering behind him. His leg was still high up, the clear reason behind Huangpu Qingyan's setback. Those wings, could they be Zhua Fan? Hell Valley's fifth elder gnashed his teeth in malice. His eyes filled with killing intent. This was unbelievable to the crowd. They once heard of this demon Zhua Fan and the sensations he stirred. Of his lightning wings and his ruthless savagery. Who could have seen it coming? The one to defeat Vicious Pill King 4 times, the one to transcend the title of Pill King, Heaven-toppling Pill, the same Grandmaster Song, was in fact the one and only Zhua Fan. Even Chu Qingcheng and Drifting Flowers Edifice's people were in a state of shock. That vile and deceitful demon of a man was in fact the pig-headed, blunt, and oafish Song Yu. They had absolutely nothing in common. Or more aptly put, Zhua Fan's performance was so convincing, he got everyone dancing his tune. Did you know he was Zhua Fan all along? Peony Overseer asked Long Jiu's group. Nodding, Long Jiu stroked his beard with a chuckle, indeed. And our friendship with the kid isn't shallow either. What will you do now? Are you going to join him in fighting Hell Valley and Regent Estate? Iris Overseer frowned in worry. They all saw Huangpu Qingyan's power. Now that he had 3 other houses helping him, they were out of their depths. But that wasn't the worst part. This was a turning point. Once they joined this fight, the damage was done, and the 7-house war would erupt. With how precarious Drifting Flowers Edifice's state was, their end was guaranteed. They did not want to see it come to pass. However, Hell Valley's #1 offender, Zhua Fan, came out of the closet. Now the 7 houses were split in sticking for Zhua Fan or wishing to kill him. Drifting Flowers Edifice held a grudge against the party who wished to kill Zhua Fan. Therefore, they could not join them. On the other hand, Zhua Fan's side was the weakest, doomed to fail. Iris Overseer and Peony Overseer were in anguish, on the verge of tears. You got smacked again and again so many times before, but why do you appear now, in front of so many people? Woes, in front of your enemies. Why are you making it so hard on us? Drifting Flowers Edifice never offended you, so why are you looking to harm us? Xia Tianyang could guess what they were thinking and gestures dismissively, don't you worry now. There's no need to join this miserable battle. We plan on sitting back as well. You won't help him? Peony Overseer was puzzled and glad. Puzzled since he always said he and Zhua Fan went through thick and thin together, but not willing to help him now when it matters. Glad, since they could play innocent. Since no one was going to help him, then Drifting Flowers Edifice needn't bother themselves with other people's problems. However, seeing them so callous, Xiao Dandan was fuming mad, humph, and you call yourselves brothers while afraid to lend a hand when it matters. If you won't help him, I will. Xiao Dandan just started running when Peony Overseer dragged her back. Don't go cause trouble, Missy. That Zhua Fan has a vile reputation. Who knows what he was planning while hiding in Drifting Flowers City? Why are you still treating him like your husband? And how come you're more infatuated than before? Drifting Flowers City cussed. Xiao Dandan felt chagrined. Master, I finally found a good man and I just can't sit by and watch him die. Miss Dandan is so virtuous, worthy of me calling you sister-in-law. Xia Tianyang giggled, don't you worry your pretty little head. This is all part of that brat's master plan. He even warned us not to get involved and to believe in him to see this through to the end. What? Is this true? Or are you just saying this to shift the blame and pull the wool over my eyes? Xiao Dandan suspected him. The others laughed with a shake of their heads and even Peony Overseer felt bitter. Foolish girl, who do you think they are? If people of the 7 houses say they won't go save him, then that's what they'll do. Why would they go and lie to a lass? Seeing her suspicion not in the least dispelled, Long Kue let out a disarming giggle. Lady Dandan, that brat didn't want us to interfere, afraid that Regent Estate would target us and affect the rise of his clan. Which reminds me. This is all part of a selfish aim of his. Why would a ruthless and devious savage such as him show kindness otherwise? Why would he burden himself with the lives of others otherwise? This brings me back to the chaos that happened in Windgaze City between us and Hell Valley. He took advantage of the turmoil and killed 2 of their elders, while making us take the fall. You are not allowed to speak ill of my husband. Can't you see it's all because of his intelligence? Xiao Dandan cut her off with an irritated tone. Shaking her head, Long Kue remained silent. What's so good about him anyway? What got this grown-up lady so delusional over him? Ignoring her martial niece, Iris Overseer looked at Zhuo Fan then at Long Jiu. Uncle Jiu, you say that he wants to carry this by himself. But how is a bone-tempering cultivator able to deal with 4 houses ganging up on him and flee with his life? Will you intervene if his death is certain? Long Jiu paused for a long time, then nodded with unyielding conviction. Yes, he is the brother I believe in without question. I as well. I owe him a debt. Xia Tianyang grinned, then chuckled at the tall figure in the arena. However, we are probably overthinking things. He got this in the bag. What? He can actually escape under the eyes of 4 experts? Peony Overseer jolted. That would make him, just as the rumors spoke of, a freak. These 4 are renowned figures of the profound heaven stage. Ha ha ha, he is without a doubt, a freak. Xia Tianyang laughed. I also do not know if he can escape, but I know from his fight with Yugiki. He is no oaf. As long as he set his mind on something, he will see it through to the end. They all had to nod at this and return to watch the events unfold. Crash! With a burst, Huangpu Qingyun flew out of the rubble. There was dust all over him, but otherwise, not a scratch on him. He however knew full well how his belly hurt. Feeling his belly carefully, Huangpu Qingyun watched the winged Zhuo Fan solemnly. He underestimated him for having a bone-tempering cultivation, but in fact, Zhuo Fan's speed wasn't the only one transcending stages, his body's power too. As a fellow body cultivator, Huangpu Qingyun knew how difficult Zhuo Fan could be. What surpassed this, however, was the shock of finding someone with a more savage body cultivation method than Regent Estate's imperial tyrant body art. Easing his leg down, Zhuo Fan's face was ever the same, calm and unfeeling. He opened the wooden box in his hands and breathed in deeply. The root was finally his. Grinning from ear to ear, Zhuo Fan put the box away and ignored the flabbergasted looks of everyone as he turned his attention to 100-pill meeting. Second young master, didn't you say something about being unworthy of Bodhi root? Ha ha ha, as you well know, as the pill king of this 100-pill meeting, I am rightfully entitled to it. You little shit, you won't live enough to enjoy it. Huangpu Qingyun's eyes exploded with killing intent. Shrugging, Zhuo Fan chuckled a retort, if yours truly took it, I am least afraid of someone taking it from me. Whoosh! With a sudden sound, Hell Valley's 5th elder flashed not 10 meters from him. He glared, punk, you're that Zhuo Fan who killed 7th elder. Don't even think of denying it. Many from Hell Valley saw those same lightning wings when you committed the crime. When did I ever say the contrary? Then again, who else out there is brazen enough to openly steal what one of the 7 houses covet? Zhuo Fan's face slowly changed to his original appearance. Despite knowing it was coming, the crowd was still filled with panic. Zhuo Fan's face was the same one on Hell Valley's kill order. The crowd devolved into chaos as each ran which way. The fight between the killer of Hell Valley's mastermind, Yu Giki, Zhuo Fan and their 5th elder was not something these first, second and third-rate clans would dare involve themselves in. If by some disaster, they would get killed from a stray attack, they wouldn't even have time to lament. Despite such fears, they couldn't help feeling sorry for the magnificent heaven-toppling pill, Grandmaster Song, ending up to be the demon Zhuo Fan. Under the 7 houses encirclement, the only ending was with one's head on a pike. Regardless if he was the demon Zhuo Fan, or the freak Zhuo Fan, how could either of them escape from the 7 houses entrapment? Chapter 156, Savage Like a Tiger. Chapter 156, Savage Like a Tiger. Chu Qingqing's thoughts aligned with the rest. She gazed upon the changing yet unmistakably proud face with incertitude. Zhuo Fan had lied to her from the start, yet he did not once do something to disappoint her. It turned out that with his intervention, all the crises were laid before her, unraveled, waiting for her to solve them with ease. She came to believe that she and Drifting Flower's edifice owed him. Now there was no reason for her to hold back from helping him avoid the danger he was in. However, that only applied if he was anyone but Zhuo Fan. After all, he killed Hell Valley's 7th elder. If she chose to stand up for him, Hell Valley would soon be knocking with a war on her door. Regent Estate and Pill King Hall would never miss the golden opportunity either. Thus marking the end of Drifting Flower's edifice. She was deep in thought for a while before coming to a decision. Chu Qingqing gnashed her teeth and her eyes shined with conviction as she took a simple step. Death is nothing, since today is Drifting Flower's edifice's judgment day. Without this man's help, vicious Pill King would have gripped the whole of Drifting Flower's edifice in a mere 2 days. Rather than struggle on death's door, ending alongside the man she admired with a bang didn't seem like a bad way to go. Chu Qingqing's gait became firm and nodded at Tao Danyang. Aunt Tao. Clear on her intention, Tao Danyang sighed as she grew resolute as well. But right then, one red and one blue silk ribbon held them tight before lifting them on the terrace. I knew you two were foolish, but thankfully I managed to stop you. Peony Overseer and Iris Overseer released the ribbons and sighed. Xia Tianyang then rushed to explain Zhuo Fan's intentions. The two were alarmed, unable to comprehend how a bone-tempering cultivator could face 4 profound heaven experts. It was impossible even to a freak like him. Shrugging, Xia Tianyang sighed, I fulfilled my end and told you of his wishes. If you still wish to be reckless, all you'll be doing is ruining his plan. His anger will be on you. Let's see him dare get angry at me. Chu Qingqing shouted. But soon, she realized this was not the time for casual bickering. With a rotten smile, Xia Tianyang spoke in circles, Edifice Lord Chu, you have no idea of the extent of that brat's retribution. By the time you find out, you'll be left in tears. He. Chu Qingqing watched the arena mystified. At the same time, Huangpu Qingyun and Zhuo Fan turned towards the terrace as if in sync. Huangpu Qingyun was worried Chu Qingqing would stick out for Zhuo Fan. He didn't want to fight her and now he could finally put this worry to rest. Meanwhile, Zhuo Fan was even more concerned. If Chu Qingqing stood up, his plan would go up in smokes. 2 rivals were actually willing to pause over a woman. Brat, it's time you pay for my 7th brother's misery with your life. Suddenly, Hell Valley's 5th elder charged Zhuo Fan. His body exploded with power and ignited into a scarlet flame as he swung at Zhuo Fan. The fist was filled with rage and thrown in haste, but it kicked up a storm. Zhuo Fan couldn't even breathe from its power, as if a mountain was crushing him. 5th layer of profound heaven stage, and a body cultivator too. His pupils contracting, although had an inkling of the man's power, it exceeded his expectations. Despite being a profound heaven expert as well, He was in a different league from Yugiki. Zhuo Fan weighed it thoroughly and came to the conclusion he was far from this man's match in body power. But everyone has a shortcoming. Your flesh might be steel, but I have 2 blades behind me. With savagery in his eyes, Zhuo Fan stood his ground. The lightning wings warped into sickles and attacked Fifth Elder. One hacked the flaming fist, the other his face. Zhuo Fan was willing to accept this heavy wound if it meant the death of his opponent. Seeing the incoming sickle, Fifth Elder stomped. With an explosion, he stopped in his tracks and flew backward. The wings missed and with a boom, a 5-meter hole was left behind 3 meters from Fifth Elder. Wisps of black smoke drifted above the hole. Feeling the icy sweat trickling down his head, Fifth Elder expression turned grave. He no longer charged recklessly. He now knew how Yugiki met his end. This brat is too vicious. Not only to his enemies, but even to himself. It may look advantageous exchanging a wound for a kill, but he would open himself to others, a pig ready to be slaughtered. To make such a savage decision in a split second showed how cunning and ruthless he was. The Fifth Elder was beginning to worry about the upcoming battle. What if the brat up and chose to take them both down? Such an ending would be meaningless. The worried people on the terrace watched in shock. Is this the rumored demon Zhuo Fan? He is indeed a monstrosity. Yet, the women from Drifting Flowers edifice came to find he was sporting one hell of a domineering air. In this state, where Zhuo Fan was the weakest in terms of cultivation and number, he exuded the aura of the strongest, one who looked down on others with pride. While Huangpu Qingyun's team, the one with higher cultivation and number, was bleak and distressed. Their stance looked to be the weakest of the 2 sides. The previous exchange between Fifth Elder and Zhuo Fan was the perfect example. Zhuo Fan was willing to bet his life while Fifth Elder wasn't quite up to terms with staking his life on one strike. It ended as it played, with Fifth Elder terrified and Zhuo Fan winning. I was the one to attack first but ended up scared by his sickles. How mortifying. This is how a man should be, brave. I finally found a real man. How great that he is also my husband. Xiao Dandan was love-struck, with only him in her ever-infatuated eyes. Chu Qingqing shook her head but was feeling her fair share of growing feelings as well. Yes, this is how my husband should be, an undefeated hero. In the arena, Fifth Elder was aware of the humiliation. He was pissed, but he stayed put. Zhuo Fan grinned and placed the Bodhi root in his thunder ring. Yours truly shall no longer entertain you, but bye. Zhuo Fan punctuated with a stomp and took flight. His wings shot him high in the sky. Where do you think you're going? Snorting, Fifth Elder stomped as well, chasing after him. In mere seconds, he overtook Zhuo Fan. Zhuo Fan, however, expected this and the lightning wings shifted into whips as they lashed at him. Get lost. Humph, you little prick, you think you're the only one with demonic treasures? Fifth Elder had come prepared. His hands suddenly held an enormous scarlet hammer. He used both his hands to swing it at Zhuo Fan. If you've got the guts, let's see you bet your life again. A 5th-grade demonic treasure. Zhuo Fan gnashed his teeth and shifted his wings into shields. With the enemy having a 5th-grade demonic treasure, exchanging a wound for a life was impossible now. His life might be the one to perish first. Bam! Zhuo Fan smashed into the ground like a meteor, picking up a cloud of dust. When it cleared, it revealed the crumbled stage. Chu Qingcheng and the others were alarmed. Xiao Dandan even jumped to search for his body, but Peony Overseer caught her before she could do it. Long Jiu's group was looking grave. Hell Valley's 5th Elder was a body cultivator. If this hammer strike hadn't outright killed Zhuo Fan, it would definitely leave a mark. If the situation worsened, they would have no choice but offend Regent Estate and join the fight. 5th Elder floated down and smashed the ground with his hammer, making the earth quake 3 times. Huangpu Qingyun eyed the ruins, then the proud 5th Elder and cackled, ha ha ha, 5th Elder is indeed Hell Valley's expert body cultivator. Your art is as strong as Regent Estate's Imperial Tyrant body art. You're too kind, second young master, ha ha ha, 5th Elder faked modesty. He had always been confident of his body cultivation method. Huangpu Qingyun's words of praises made his heart pump with pride. Huangpu Qingyun turned to the ruins again with a chuckle. With Fifth Elder's strength, that brat must be close to dying if not dead already. Could I ask a favor from Fifth Elder? If he's still alive, allow me to exact revenge for your valley's Seventh Elder. Huangpu Qingyun's eyes flashed with naked killing intent. Fifth Elder knew he was after this all along and didn't hurt earning his favor over such a small matter. He laughed. Others are unworthy, but if it's the second young master's request, please do not hesitate to do it. But I would like to return to Hell Valley with his head. I will never forget Fifth Elder's dutiful act. Huangpu Qingyun then walked towards the ruins with killing intent. Since ancient times, one mountain wasn't big enough for two tigers. This is your fate, that I will wring the life out of you to ease my heart. Chu Qingqing's group stared in anxiety and worry that he would kill Zhuofan. Uncle Jiu, do we attack? Chu Qingqing asked impatiently. But Long Jiu's lone eye stared at the ruins, still ruminating. This only worked to add more pressure on Chu Qingqing. Chapter 157, Cunning Like a Fox. Chapter 157, Cunning Like a Fox. Humph, if you won't go, I will. Chu Qingqing had reached her limit again, flicking her sleeve as she rushed to save him. Long Jiu and his group helplessly followed after her. But an explosion stopped them before they could intervene. Huangpu Qingyun was right at the edge of the crumbled stage when it shot into the air. A black figure flashed and a foot slammed Huangpu Qingyun's cheek. Huangpu Qingyun flew for dozens of meters and was now seeing stars. The black figure was far from finished, flickering behind Huangpu Qingyun and hacked with two thunderous axes for his head. Huangpu Qingyun was too caught up to even know what was happening before finding himself face to face with death. Watch out, second young master. Hell Valley's Fifth Elder swung his two fists to help him, but the figure already retreated. When the black figure stopped, it was unmistakably Zhuofan. Zhuofan had blood flowing from his mouth and sporting an infuriated expression, only surpassed by the killing intent in his eyes. Damn it, so close and I would have had that punk's life. Zhuofan spat blood and barked at Huangpu Qingyun. Huangpu Qingyun was overwhelmed and his body broke out in cold sweat. This goddamn prick is too deceitful. He faked death among the ruble so that I would get close enough to kill me. If not for fifth timely rescue, I would have been a goner. Huangpu Qingyun grew more roiled, but feeling more appalled than ever. Chu Qingqing's side was wild with joy. Zhuofan looked as fine as ever, with hardly enough to be called wounded. Well damn. I always took the rumor of him being a freak as nothing more than a jest. But 2 years after we last saw each other, this brat's hard-headedness reached a whole new level. With how strong Hell Valley's Fifth Elder's body was, even Veiled Dragon Pavilion's Third Elder would want to avoid fighting him. They have come to blows many times over the years but always ended in a tie. How is it that this brat is pitch perfect after getting a smack from his hammer? He is an abomination. Long Jiu said suddenly to Xie Tianyang, "Kid, didn't you see him last time? Just when did he get that freakish?" Shrugging, Xie Tianyang felt downcast. Who knew it would all happen overnight? From the 6th layer of qi condensation, where he could beat even bone-tempering experts, he suddenly changed to the bone-tempering freak who killed Yugiki. Overnight? They all smacked their lips. What baffling skill did the brat use to become so dreadful? But then they recalled how he changed overnight when the Luo clan was in crisis at that time as well. And now he did it again, this time gaining an unbreakable body. Brother, just how much are you hiding for your dear older brother? Long Jiu sighed as the rest watched Zhuofan in amazement. This kid was a true monster. Not only his alchemy ability was top-notch, but he was well versed in other aspects as well. Unaware of his dear older brother, Long Jiu, labeling him a monster, Zhuofan spat another mouthful of blood as he watched the appalled Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder. Goddamned old fart. Your hammer almost snapped my rib. But you at least managed to shake my organs a bit and give me a slight wound. Hell Valley, eh? Fine then, Hell Valley's old fifth, I'll remember this debt. With a twitching face, Zhuofan spat the words with great rancor. Yet, why did it sound more like a mockery than anything else? A grand fifth layer profound heaven bone cultivator's hammer blow couldn't kill a bone tempering cultivator, when it would turn any normal profound heaven expert to mush. Not even Veiled Dragon Pavilion's third elder dared to take on his hammer. The least was a serious wound and worst, death. But this punk didn't even get a rib cracked, nor sported the slightest wound. Just who the hell is this brat? Fifth elder had regarded Zhuofan highly from the start. At least at Yugiki's level, since he managed to kill him. But he now realized how sorely mistaken he was. This punk is a monster through and through. His body is nigh unbreakable. Thank the fates he's not in the profound heaven stage and can't use his body to its full advantage. Spatting, fifth elder turned grave. Zhuofan secretly laughed, having figured out what was on his mind. This was the best time to flee. And he did just that, without any useless words, just fled. The grave fifth elder jolted and cursed inside as he rushed to block him. Think I'm a fool to let you walk away after you cursed me? You won't get the chance. You won't live to make my life miserable. He was indeed a profound heaven expert, catching up in an instant and swinging his hammer on Zhuofan again. But Zhuofan was prepared this time. Grinning, his lightning wings deflected the hammer and rushed towards the fifth elder. Fifth elder was in glee. Zhuofan may have dodged the blow, but coming closer couldn't be better. Fifth elder let go of the hammer and smashed his fist towards Shua's face. The blow packed enough power to at least break a few bones this time. But Zhuofan kept his cool, even snickering. He lightly stepped, mystifying phantom step. Zhuofan vanished into thin air and popped behind fifth elder. Fifth elder had no idea what occurred while Zhuofan used this chance to flee. Kid, you won't get away that easy. Suddenly, Huangpu Qingyun appeared and blocked his escape. Zhuofan frowned and felt vexation get to him. I so want to take him down a peg, but this is not the time. They were both body cultivators, but with one stage gap. Brawling would be detrimental to Zhuofan. Moreover, it would also slow down his speed if he were to use the lightning wings to fend off his opponent. Afterwards, the fifth elder would rush over during the gap and make matters worse. With no alternative, Zhuofan used mystifying phantom step again to escape Huangpu Qingyun. Huangpu Qingyun stood dumbly in midair. What's with this strange art? He never saw anything remotely resembling it. However, to the dismay of the ones on the terrace, a blue figure flashed over, curbing Zhuofan's escape. With a boom, he was kicked back before he could figure out how it happened. He hit the ground so hard, a wave of dust formed. The messy Zhuofan clawed back to his feet. He felt his sore face as he looked coldly. Fifth elder and Huangpu Qingyun took one side around him, as did the blue figure. Zhuofan snickering at him. The kick was fast, but hardly powerful. It turns out to be an elder from Merry Woods. The one to get a leg up on Zhuofan was none other than Lin Ziqian. Taking a quick look at Vicious Pill King, he found him too drained to join in the fight. Huangpu Qingyun and fifth elder were tough but had no way to counter Zhuofan's eerie movements. Thus making Merry Woods speed the only way to bring the brat down a peg. Lin Ziqian thought, fortune favors the bold. He made sure to kick back this monstrosity to win the greatest credit. Unbeknownst to him, that kick shot him straight through the gates of hell. Elder Lin, well done. I will remember this later. Huangpu Qingyun was vexed by Zhuofan's erratic movements, but now only Lin Ziqian could keep him here, so Huangpu Qingyun flattered him. Picking up on the second young master's plan, fifth elder followed suit. This little prick is such a headache, having a strange movement art on top of his strong body. If not for Elder Lin, he would have escaped. Lin Ziqian was proud of his glorious achievement, but shook his head trying to act modestly. Peony Overseer was itching to go there and kick his butt. You damn old fart. It's fine if you don't want to help Drifting Flowers Edifice, but you went as far as helping that bastard from Regent Estate against Drifting Flowers Edifice's son-in-law. I was a fool to waste my feelings on you. Zhua Fan had a contemptuous grin and secretly cursed him for being a moron. Even in this situation, he didn't put him in his eyes. He already saw through Mary Wood's cultivation method, a useless trick, fancy but pointless. If his disciple ruined himself with it, what was to say of his master? How was he a worthy enemy if he was the weakest, albeit fastest? Zhua Fan sneered. He only took into consideration Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder, while throwing Elder Lin in the back of his mind. Such clear-cut disregard irked Elder Lin, stinging his prideful heart. Second young master, Fifth Elder, allow me to handle this arrogant punk. Lin Zitian didn't find anything amiss and shouted. Zhua Fan looked at him queerly. This opportunist sure is ballsy. You know I killed you geeky, who was as weak as you, yet you dare challenge me. Huangpu Qingyun and Fifth Elder looked at him the same way. Is this old man alright? Even I have to watch my every move when facing this demon, and here you are asking to do it alone? Just who was the truly arrogant one here? One or two praises already got to your head.